Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt. Thank you for tuning in to session 12 of the Provokers, entitled The One Armed Man. Uh, I am joined again by my four esteemed colleagues. I'm going to shoot it over to them to let them introduce themselves and reintroduce their characters. But before we get started, I just want to say really quick that the newest Absolute Tabletop supplement, it's an adventure called Horror at Misty Meadows, is still pay what you want through midnight Eastern tonight. So make sure you stop by absolutetabletop.com and pick that up for free while you still have the chance to do so. Anyway, I'm going to throw it over to the players now. We're going to start with Barker. Barker, please introduce yourself, your channel, and dice, and then toss it over to somebody else.
Cool, yes. My name is Barker. I run the channel Be a Better Game Master, and I am a part of AbsoluteTabletop.com. Today I am playing Aaron Dice Ellington, and I'm really excited as usual. I'm pumped for today. Go ahead.
All right, let's go Nate next.
All right. Am I unmuted? I am. My name is Nate. I have the channel WASD20, and my website is wasd20.net. And I am playing Erdon Saroshent, who is a wood elf fighter. And can't wait to hang out in these troll tunnels again. They're a really nice place.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting a vacation home there, man. It's really nice.
Timeshare.
Exactly. All right, Juicy, you're up.
I'm Juice from Tabletop Gaming with Juice, and I am playing a dwarven cleric of life named Brasswick Feeblehammer. And he is the greatest dwarf in Aeronoth, which we all know by now. And be sure to follow me on Twitter, Juice734, and over on Facebook, Tabletop Gaming with Juice. And that's it. And with that, the last person, the second greatest dwarf, Durgan.
Hey guys, I am Tim with Tabletop Terrors, and regarding horror at Misty Meadows, if you're still on the fence and want to kind of get a taste of it, I had an awesome opportunity to run the game yesterday, and so if you go to Tabletop Terrors YouTube channel, you can watch it from beginning to end and see if it's something that you're interested in. And I am excited because I was talking to James, and on the Tabletop Terrors channel, we're really going to start running more games, and so hopefully that was just the first of many. So I'm excited to play Durgan, and I am a paladin, and as Brasswick said, I'm the second best dwarf in all of Aeronoth.
And they're going to run more games after the relaunch of Tabletop Terrors.
Well, we're going to do a relaunch of the running of the games. We're going to run a couple and then stop, and then we have to write a song about it.
That's standard operating procedure at Tabletop Terrors.
We have a handbook.
By the book. All right. Does anyone want to volunteer to do a quick recap of the last session in exchange for an inspiration point? Don't everyone jump up at once. Come on, Tim. I see that face.
Because I know I would butcher it. I know just enough to be dangerous. I was listening to it this morning, but then I watched an entirely different game, and so I feel like I would embarrass myself. Do you want me to try and embarrass myself?
I want you to try, and I'll fill in any holes that you leave. Okay. I'm just imagining you being like, and then we fought a dragon,
a monkey dragon,
fought a troll
with a handgun. You got changed for a 38, he said, as he shot us. No.
Yeah, go for it, Tim. Go for it.
So the Provokers were in Shade Vale because Erdon Saroshent had business here, and we also needed the Elves of Shade Vale to aid us because we cannot, unless we have an army, try to face the Corruptor. And upon reaching Shade Vale, we had a long, arduous battle with orcs, and after all of that went down and there was a lot of death and destruction by the Corruptor, we were able to stave him off, but that left Shade Vale in danger. And so we had to go off, and I feel like I'm recapping 2 sessions ago to get to last session, but basically we had to go and visit a troll whose name I would never be able to pronounce. And basically, Erdon drank this troll's blood or parts of him and saw a vision. And this vision was of death and fire and of a man and a woman who spoke to dragons. And from there, we had to go back to Shade Vale. But when we got back, we found out that Matron Elmira was dead. We found out that the orcs had taken the prisoners and were making them fight as slaves, and there were way too many orcs. They would outnumber us. So we caused a distraction, and we provoked, and were able to use our trickery and wiles to get the orcs to scatter. But from there, Eredon still needed to find his sister. So after making amends partially with his father, we went into the troll tunnels, because that is the last place that his sister and Mere Stonegaze were seen. And so as we delved into these troll tunnels, we fought a terrible troll, and this blood troll was draining its victims into these vials, these big buckets. And we flipped this, and we defeated this particular troll, and we came upon a door, and the door was guarded by a druidic ward, and it turns out that it was actually Eredon's sister. And she was the one who was protecting the door, or maybe it was Mere Stonegaze, but as we entered in, there was a hall of the survivors of Shade Vale who had taken refuge in the troll tunnels. And from there, we found out that there's a much bigger danger that we must face.
Tim, that was a perfect recap. That was very good. Go ahead and take a point of inspiration.
Sweet, I'm going to need it.
I will say that one thing to note is that the Provokers also found a survivor of the Watchers that had been sent out to try and find a way out of the troll tunnels named Kinnit, who was kind of losing his mind because he had seen everyone horribly killed and bled by trolls. And then he stepped onto a trap and was ripped to pieces by hooked chains. If I remember correctly, I think Brasswick was about to revivify him, and then he got ripped into about 36 pieces. So, and then yes, it is important to note that Eredon's sister, Larawise, is capable of druidic magic, which Eredon was not aware of. And Mir had told him that they're actually kind of grooming Larawise to become the next matron of Shade Vale. So she's very, very important to the people of Shade Vale. And then Mere Stonegaze basically told you guys there's this huge troll that is blocking the path out of the troll tunnels, and he gave you guys 6 watchers, and you all set off to take on this troll. But we're actually going to start elsewhere, as I'm so fond of doing. We're going to start elsewhere, and we're going to start in the past. Is Juice not here? Is Juice gone? That bastard.
Oh my god.
He better have been here for that recap that I ran.
Oh, Juice. Is he asleep?
Laundry.
Is he under the desk?
No, he's just quick switching out the laundry.
Oh, is that what
I
he
don't
said?
know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
We're going to start, as we often do, with a laundry break.
Oh man, the pace was so good. We were just chugging right along.
No.
Those were the sultry tones of an LG spin drive.
That was really good, man. I could tell what that was.
Sometimes we'll put a shoe in there, like a
There he
Converse.
is.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
We'll put like a Converse All-Star in there, and it'll be like.
You want to know a trick, Barker?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. I would love
Tie
to
the
know
shoes to the door of the dryer, so they're in the dryer, but they don't tumble.
Oh.
Oh,
Just take
my
the
God.
laces and tie them together and put it on the door.
Does
That
not
also
mess with
solves
the
that-
laces?
What's that?
Does that not mess with the laces?
Not really, no.
They're like it turns them into like a voodoo doll.
Yeah. No, but if you ever have to put shoes in the dryer, that's the way you do it. Otherwise, it drives me crazy listening to shoes tumble around in the dryer. Anyway, how many viewers do we have right now? 57. All right.
57. We had 41 before Juice left.
Laundry tips with Matt.
Oh, you're good.
I would just continue, but Juice kind of needs
Juice,
to be here.
can you hear us? Jesus Christ.
If you're in the washer, say yes.
Oh man, Matt, that was the best session I think we've ever had. All
That
right,
was
everybody.
really good.
Braswick
Yeah,
died.
that was great. I'm
He
really
died.
glad, really glad you guys enjoyed it.
7 critical hits. It's awesome.
What I miss?
Dead.
Sorry,
So, Juice, now that you're back, the session begins elsewhere in Aeronoth, and in the past, in the north of Aeronoth, hundreds of miles from where the Provokers are right now, there is a kingdom known as Bardoth. And Bardoth is a hilly, craggy region. Its winters are long and cold, and its springs are short and fleeting. And in the capital of Bardoth, a hill fortress that is walled off with stone, and the ramparts are manned by these great siege weapons that are used to fend off the various threats in the plains of Bardoth. There is a small, rustic temple, a simple stone structure. There's nothing really fancy or ornate about it. It's just sort of a stone cube towards the center of the capital of Bardoth. And there's a etching above the door of this temple, and its hands clasped together and tied with rope, the symbol of Ilmater. It's morning, and a young dwarf named Braswick is seeing to his early morning duties as an acolyte of Ilmater. Braswick, what would you be doing as a young dwarf seeing to your morning chores as the sun is barely peeking over the horizon?
I would probably be scrubbing the floors in the main hall of the temple. On my hands and knees, and just trying to get any little bit of dirt or anything, trying to make it look as nice as possible, especially early in the morning.
Absolutely. And as you're doing so, you see that there are other acolytes sort of milling about, going to their various tasks, going to pray, going to clean other areas of the temple. But you're approached, Braswick, by your good friend, Oldar Deep Digger. And he approaches you, his robe swishing across the stone floor, and he's moving very quickly. And normally the acolytes kind of move very reverently, slowly through the temple, making sure not to make a lot of noise, but he approaches very quickly. And he sort of kneels so that he's at your eye level. And as you look up at him, he says, "Braswick, I've had a vision."
Really? Go on. Tell me more.
And he sort of looks around to see if anyone else is listening, and when he sees that no one is paying attention, he gets closer to you, Braswick, and he says, "Yes, I had a dream last night, and I think Ilmater spoke to me. I think that he sent me a vision and showed me where I am supposed to be. And it's not here, Braswick. It's not here in Bardoth. It's not here in this temple. It's not even here in the north. I think I'm needed in the south, in Gwynterod."
Are you sure? Why would you think that?
I'm almost positive. The vision was scattered. It wasn't complete, but I wrote down what I remembered, and I think that I'm supposed to go to the south. I think Ilmater has called me there, Braswick. There's going to be a great battle, a great war, and I need to be down there. I need to bring the endurance of Ilmater to the south to make sure that they can endure as Ilmater does.
Battle is no place for acolytes like us.
I will learn what I need to do. I will train. And he looks at you, Braswick. He looks you in the eye, and he puts a hand on your shoulder and he says, "Braswick, I know that you have pledged yourself to this temple. I know that you believe above all things that this is your place, but would you consider coming with me, my friend? Would you consider forsaking your vows and coming with me to the south?"
So I kind of toss my brush aside and kind of stand up and I say, I can't go. I can't leave here. There's nothing for us in the South. Surely if you think you must go, then it's Ilmater's will, but I can't. My place is here in Bardoth.
He nods sadly. Very well, Braswick. Very well. You'll tell the priest about my vision? I can't tell anyone before I leave. They'll try and stop me.
Yes, I will tell them what you've told me.
And
Be safe.
He stands, and he's standing above you, and the light coming in through the simple stone slits kind of silhouettes him, this very kind of impressive silhouette now towering over you from your place and from where you're scrubbing the floors, and he says, "Farewell, Braswick. I hope that we meet again." And then he leaves. It's many years later, actually about a decade later. And once again, Braswick, you find yourself scrubbing the floors before dawn. It's still dark, the temple is silent, but you've found that this is your favorite time to be in the temple, when there's no one else around, when it's just you and the stone and the presence of Ilmater. And as you're on your hands and knees scrubbing the floors, the wooden doors to the temple creak open, and you see a figure stumble in through the doors. A hunched, feeble figure. And he stumbles in, and you see him drop a walking stick and fall to his knees and gasp in pain.
As I see this, I quickly attend to him. I rush over and try to help him up, seeing that he needs help, and I grab his walking stick and hand it to him. And I say, Sir, can I help you? Where are we going? Where are you going?
As you go to help the man, you see that he is an old human man, or at least he looks human, and he has a long, sort of scraggly beard, these thin arms. He's almost skeletal. He looks sort of emaciated and gaunt. He's draped in loose-fitting, rough-spun robes, and he has just a simple walking stick, and as you hand it to him, he uses it to right himself, and you see that he's covered with scars. Just his skin is 80% scar tissue, and you see that there are cuts and stabs and wounds that are bandaged up, and you see blood sort of seeping through the bandages. And he brings himself up on his walking stick, and you hear his old bones crack and creak, and he reaches out with a skeletal hand, and he pulls you close, Braswick, and he says, "Water, please, my son, water."
Yes. I guide him to a chair that's right there. It's actually a bench. And I rush to get him some of Ilmater's holy water. And I fill it a wet skin and rush back to him and start helping him drink some water as I look over his wounds and see if there's anything I can do to rebandage them.
Absolutely. And as you tend to him, you redo some of the bandages, and you see that the wounds are very strange. They're not fresh, but they're still seeping blood. They don't look infected, but they're sort of just these strange, almost like wounds that are refusing to heal. They look quite painful, and as you're bandaging them up, you see that the old man winces, but he sort of endures the pain. And he takes a long swig from the water skin, wipes the water from his beard, and he says, "What is your name, boy?"
Braswick, of the Feeblehammer clan.
"I see great things in you, boy. I see kindness in your heart for helping an old injured man. I see courage as well, but not recklessness. I see devotion. I see careful logic. Yes, Braswick Feeblehammer, you are destined for great things. You," and as he's speaking, he sort of is taking on a stronger appearance. You see that he's sitting a little bit more upright. His beard looks a little bit fuller, and you're sort of taken aback by his appearance. And he says, "You must journey to the south, Brasswick Feeblehammer." And as he's talking, his voice echoes from the walls. It emanates from the stone beneath you and around you, and the arches above you. "You will meet 3 heroes in the south, Brasswick Feeblehammer. A half-blood tormented by loss, a dwarf blinded by vengeance, and an elf haunted by the mistakes of his father. They will need you, Brasswick Feeblehammer. They will need your guidance." And he pulls you close, and it's surprising how strong this old man is, Brasswick. He pulls you close to him, and he reaches out a hand, and he touches it to your forehead, and he says, "They will need your light." And there's a blinding flash of light. Brasswick, we're back in the troll tunnels now. And there's a crash as a club sinks into the stone in front of you. And you look up and you see Deadhead the troll. One head just sneering, jowls just dripping with spit. A secondary head lolling to one side, sort of barely hanging on from a strip of rotted flesh and bits of bone. 2 huge arms and a third sort of skinnier arm poking out of its chest, and you see the remains of one of the elven watchers that it's ripped in half in its arms. What would you like to do, Brasswick?
Ooh, okay. Seeing this, Brasswick would very clearly ready himself, and he would probably try to run up and climb this troll. That's
Awesome.
that's something he usually, tries to do on these things. He's not real smart about that.
I was hoping you'd say that. Okay, cool. So give me either a strength, athletics, or a acrobatics check to try and technically grapple with the troll.
All right. Yeah, that wasn't good. 6.
Yeah, he got a 15. You come up under his arm, and he just sort of sweeps you to the side, almost like you're just something he's trying to move out of the way to get to something more important. He just kind of sweeps you to the side, pushing you up against one of the stone pillars. And as Brasswick sort of disappears under a cloud of dust as the troll sweeps him aside, we cut to Dice. So Dice, the troll, is in the center of this great hall lined with pillars. You see that the elven watchers are already taking action, seeing one of their comrades ripped in half, and they have knocked arrows to their bows and have sort of split up and are taking up positions in the room to find good places to shoot, basically.
Dice raises his staff, and immediately it becomes coated in just a layer of frost. And he shouts to one of the elves, "To the head! Attack the head!" And one of the elves says, "Which one?" And he says, "The living one!" And he fires 3 icicle-like blasts directly at this troll. They ricochet off the ground a little bit and kind of maneuver almost like heat seekers up and attempt to blast this troll in that living head. And that's a total of 13 damage with the magic missile.
Awesome. Yeah, the icicles smash into his head and sort of freeze portions of its face. Okay. And do you want to move or do anything else?
I would find an advantageous position kind of near a pillar to maybe be able to get behind it if I needed to. But definitely a place slightly away from the troll. And I would kind of wink at Brasswick, even though he obviously doesn't see me, and probably make some sort of remark about how we can't help but provoke our enemies by climbing on them.
Awesome. Okay, Durgan.
Seeing Brasswick do this, I think it would clearly be "Oh, no, you don't." And I would sort of try to scurry as he's being brushed aside to try to jump and, if I can, succeed where he failed. And so, what would you like me to do? Same thing, the athletics?
Yeah, either athletics or acrobatics.
Okay. I am certainly going to do athletics.
Ooh, you got a good chance.
Okay. So, yeah, let's do this big here. Okay. 19. No. Liar. 20.
20? Yeah, you scramble up on top of the troll.
Okay. So, as I do this, I see Brasswick being swept aside, and hopefully I can give him a knowing glance. And the wink of dices that he didn't see, hopefully he sees mine. And what I would like to do is put my fist up the nostril of this troll if I can.
Okay, so the grapple was your action.
Oh, okay.
So.
I'm grappled. That wasn't a move.
Yeah. So basically, you when you grapple a larger creature, it's basically just counted as difficult terrain. Like you're not like full Nelsoning this guy, but you're on top of him. Yeah, perfect. Exactly. Yeah. So your action is basically to scramble up this troll's back.
Sounds great.
Cool. All right. That was Durgan. So the troll gets to go now, and then it'll be Erdon. Okay. So the troll is going to swipe at Brasswick. Or no. It's actually going to try and dislodge you, Durgan. So I will need either an athletics or an acrobatics check from you.
Okay. 23.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Its little, it's kind of like deformed arm reaches back for you, and you just kind of like duck aside, and it just kind of scrapes uselessly against its back as it's trying to grab you. The other two arms, one is going to swipe at one of the Watchers. Ooh, and the Watcher just like tucks and rolls like a pro. Just like the arm swipes, and he just rolls underneath it and comes up and actually has an arrow knocked, like ready to fire.
Dark Soul style.
Yeah, exactly. Just rolling constantly around the troll. And then the third arm is going to swipe at Brasswick, but let's see. Ooh, barely misses. Like the hand just like crushes the pillar above your head, Brasswick. You feel like rocks and debris fall on your shoulders. Okay. And you also see the sort of the cuts from the icicles ripping into its sort of almost plant-like flesh from Dice's magic missiles start to kind of stitch up a little bit. Okay. Erdon, you are up.
All right, so are these things both on the back? Are you dwarves, these things?
Are these creatures?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Are these strange, stubby creatures? No. Are you guys on its back?
Durgan is on its back, and Brasswick is sort of immediately below it against a pillar. So Brasswick tried to climb onto it, and the troll just kind of swatted him aside.
Okay. Then I am going to, and I think I can do this, with Action Surge I get 2 actions, and I think I can split those, right? I can action, move, action, maybe?
Yes, you can, yeah.
Okay, sweet. I take a knee, and I have my bow right now, and I'm going to unleash 2 arrows at this thing. And that doesn't look so good. First one is a 12, and the second one's a 17.
The 17 hits.
Okay. For 6 damage.
6 damage, okay.
And then I immediately drop my bow, and would I be able to draw a weapon and move and attack, or is that too much?
Yeah, I'll say that you can draw as you're moving. You can sort of combine that with your move action. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. So yeah, then I move up, and I'm going to try to basically hamstring this thing to make it possibly easier for Brasswick to get up there too.
Okay.
So I'm just slicing at its legs and trying to, as I kind of ducking under its sweeping arms. And ooh, that's a crit and a 16.
Both hit.
I'm sorry. No, that's not a 16. That's a 14
Okay.
and a 16.
So the 14 does not hit, but the crit
14,
definitely does.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So, double damage and modifier, or how do?
So roll the damage, add your modifier, and then double it.
Okay. Nice. Okay. So that is 9. That's 18 damage.
Is that
So yeah, I just
slashing
kind of
damage?
slashing at its legs, deep gouges.
Why don't you roll a d20 for me, Erdon? Unmodified. Just tell me the result.
I got a 3.
You got a 3?
Yeah.
Okay, nothing happens. Okay, so that brings us back around to Brasswick. So Brasswick, Erdon has now moved up. He's sort of underneath the troll. You see him just hacking at this thing's legs.
From being pushed aside, it reminds me of an encounter I had when traveling to the south of battling this large ogre, and just the sheer strength of being cast aside was very reminiscent. So, because of how strong this thing is, I feel the need to ask Ilmater for protection. So you guys see me kind of hold my shield up to shield some of these rocks that are falling on me, and I say a prayer and I say, Ilmater, please guide me with your light. Protect me from anything that is harming me. Use me as your vessel. And then you see these spirits come from above, almost giving off a radiant light, and start circling me in 15-foot radius.
Awesome.
And that would end up being a DC check of 15.
15, what's the saving throw?
Wisdom.
Wisdom?
Yep.
It does not make it.
All right. So these swirling spirits, I rolled really well. Start just nailing it. 16, 23. 23 points of damage.
Damn.
And they continue to swirl me as I try to keep about 15-foot distance from this large creature.
Awesome. Yeah, and there are just pieces just flying off of the troll as these spirits are slamming into it. And you just see it kind of being knocked to one side, and then immediately a spirit comes and hits it from the other side, and it sort of knocks again, and it sort of it catches itself with one of its good arms to keep itself from standing. All right. Do you want to move or do anything else, Brasswick?
Nope, that'd be it.
Okay. All right. Dice.
The crumbled remains of the pillar where Brasswick was standing when this monster's club just smashed into it begin spiraling subtly, but then the spiral becomes more of a cyclone until it's 5 feet in diameter, and it just rushes toward this creature, filling the air with these daggers of stone and rubble, just completely centered on it, yet not seeming to hit any of my friends, as the spell and the focus that Dice is putting into this is just allowing these daggers to just sculpt themselves around his companions. And any time that the creature either moves into the space or starts its turn in this space, it will take 4d4 damage because I'm casting it as a 3rd level spell instead of a 2nd.
Okay, cool. So make sure you remind me of that on the troll's turn.
I will. And that was 44, not 4d4. So.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. All right. That was Dice. Durgan, you are on the troll's back, and you're sort of blinded almost by the light of these spirits that Brasswick has summoned, and they're slamming into the troll. And as they're passing by, even though they're sort of only vaguely humanoid, you almost see faces sort of in these spiritual shapes as they're rushing past you.
And it certainly gives me a chill. You know, I'm a paladin, but I don't mess with that kind of stuff yet, at least. So it's a little eerie for me. And then if I may have misheard on Dice's turn, but I am in the range of that spell, yes?
You are. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Now wait, really quick.
Yeah.
You're not taking damage from it because I can sculpt my spells.
oh,
That's
perfect.
right.
Okay, I didn't know if that one was sculptable too, so that's awesome.
Sweet.
So
Very
I
exciting.
imagine that particularly, like, I don't know what Dice's face looks like, but I can just see the concentration and, like, the cold breath, just like, but I see these daggers just like just creating this shape around me as I'm moving. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I love that. So what Durgan would do is, he grabs Storm's Reach, and what I'm going to try to do is with the huge head of this hammer, I'm going to just strike down to try to shatter the thing's skull.
Okay.
And so, basically Durgan, he holds up this hammer, and you see Dice's, like I said, the knives are just, and Brasswick's spirits are flying around those knives, as Durgan holds a hammer, and he says, "May I never find ruin in pursuit of my foes. May I unearth the freedom retribution bestows." And he just... And I am going to be casting Divine Smite. And so what Divine Smite does is I'm going to use a spell slot, and if this hits, I get to do extra damage. So let's go ahead and try that. And... Ooh. Does a 16 hit?
A 16 just
16.
hits.
Ha! So the hammer comes crushing down, and you actually see the electricity surge, and it comes bolting out of the front of this, which actually has the Corruptor's, smashed helms. You see lightning spark from the dead eyes of the Corruptor's helmet as it hits the skull of this thing and just burns holy golden damage. Just, and that does... Sorry, there's a lot here.
I don't like the sound of that.
17. Well, the hammer itself does that extra little damage, and then I have one more D4.
Pull out your Texas Instruments. TI.
I know. I really don't mind. Hold on, guys. What is the second power shoot? No, it's 26 damage.
Damn. All right. Awesome. Yeah, you actually see this thing's skeleton, like, illuminated as the light just arcs through it. And you smell, like, cooking troll, Durgan.
Yeah.
And it's not good. All right. So it's the troll's turn. All right. So it's going to
44 damage. 44
yep.
damage.
Roll it.
1. I need more multiple D4s. 5. 8. And 11.
11 total?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so the troll is going to try and dislodge you, Durgan, with one arm. Ooh, I'm going to need an acrobatics or an athletics check from you.
I'm going definitely athletics. Okay. We're looking at a 12.
Yeah, so it reaches back with its good arm and grabs you kind of by the head, Durgan, and just yanks you off and just kind of like, just flings you like a match, just kind of away from it, and you just kind of go whirling, and you hit the stone ground. Go ahead and give me a dexterity saving throw to try and avoid that damage.
Oh, boy. It's a 4.
Okay. So you're going to take 7 bludgeoning damage as you collide with the ground.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Every time he starts his turn in the radius, he's supposed to take Spirit Guardian damage.
Oh, okay. Do you want to roll that for me and let me know?
Yeah, he'll have to make a DC save still.
Oh, right.
The spirits have grabbed the daggers, and they're just going at it with the daggers. It's a party up in
He
Troll Town.
rolled 17. What's the DC?
15, so he takes
Okay.
half.
Half damage. Cool.
Yep. So I'll roll it and then I'll divide it by 2.
Okay. While Brasswick is doing that, everyone else give me a dexterity saving throw.
Nice.
So he takes 6. So only some of the spirits connect.
Okay. 6. All right.
That's such a perfect roll for that, Tim. It's perfect.
Okay, so with the dexterity saving throws, anyone who gets less than 12, go ahead and take 6 bludgeoning damage as the troll, with its little arm, slams the pillar beside it, and rocks start falling from the ceiling. And it looks like most of you roll out of the way as these boulder-sized rocks just slam into the ground. But you see Brasswick take a couple, sort of banging against his helmet as the rocks fall.
So how does the concentration check work exactly?
So the concentration check is you roll a d20 and you add your, I think you add your casting modifier. So in this case it would be wisdom, and you're trying to get 10. The DC is 10 plus the damage you took. I'm gonna need to look this up actually.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if the DC starts with 10 or 8. So give me 1 second. I'm going to look it up real quick.
So I should roll.
I should know this, dude.
Well, and while you're doing that, I don't know if you noticed, Durgan critically failed.
Oh, did you critically fail your dexterity
Yeah.
saving throw?
So I'm thinking, I'm getting up after just being thrown, and I just imagine a rock just hitting the back of my head. Like, I'm totally not right. I'm just like, oh, pip.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And I got a critical success, so I'm imagining I'm actually like seeing these stones flying toward me, and I'm batting them with the flat of my scimitar at the troll.
Go full Jedi Knight.
I'm seeing them in slow mo.
One of those hits me.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yep.
Oh, so the DC is 10 or half the damage you take, whichever is higher. So in this case, it would be 10.
I made it! Woohoo!
So wait.
Oh, we had spells that we used last session too.
What do you roll though?
Did we? I think we got a rest.
Oh, it's a Constitution.
We did get a short
Constitution
rest.
saving throw.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. Sorry.
I still made it. That's okay.
Okay, cool. All right, now I know that. I'm gonna put that in my brain, and I'm gonna remember it always. It's 10 Constitution or half damage, whichever is higher.
And did we have a long rest before the session? I don't even remember.
You guys rested with
Short.
the elves,
So yes.
Short rest.
so yeah.
Yeah, short rest, I think.
Oh, short rest? Okay.
I don't remember. I think it was short, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Kinda does. I'm either out of my third level slots.
He's like,
After
I either
the spell.
no
I know it, I know it matters to you, Juice. It doesn't matter to me, you see.
It was a long rest because we were super tired.
It's like if you ask your teacher in high school, "Hey, can we use our notes on this test?" and they say, "It doesn't really matter." Are you going to be like, "Okay, I guess I can't use my notes." You're going to use your damn notes.
All right. The troll has one more arm with which to do something with, and it's swiping downwards at Erdon with this club that it's holding. Ooh, yep. So Erdon, you get hit for 13 bludgeoning damage as this club just swipes downward and catches you.
All right. I am staggered for sure.
And then the troll is going to move. Let's see. It's going to move 30 feet back out of the cloud of daggers and out of the range of this spirit guardians. But it's provoking an opportunity attack from Erdon and from Brasswick.
I just got my third natural 20 of the night in the first
man, dude.
20 minutes.
You know what that means? Erdon's dying later in the session because
Yeah.
that's going to catch up with you, man.
It's okay. I critted too.
Oh my gosh. All right, that's a whopping 2. Or
6.
12, 12 slashing damage.
Okay, all right, cool.
Same here.
All right.
12, Brasswick?
Yeah,
Okay, all right, cool.
We're twins.
we are. Double dragon that shit right there.
The Watchers, by the way, the Elven Watchers, 2 of them move to pillars alongside the troll, and you see them take out these sort of shorter lengths of rope with hooks on the end, and they wrap the rope around the pillar and grab the other side and attach these hooks to their belts and start scrambling up the pillars with their hands free. And Erdon, you know that they use these to scale the trees in Shade Vale, but they're using them now to clamber up the pillars. And as they get up to the pillars, they sort of brace themselves with their legs, leaning back against this rope that's hooking them to the pillar, and knock arrows and start firing arrows down at the troll from these high vantage points. Okay. So that was the troll. It's Erdon's turn.
All right. At this point, I remember that with the blood troll that we originally fought, we did resort to burning this thing, and so I'm going to actually pull out a torch, and I'm going to run back as I do this for my bow, and I'm going to I probably would not be able to do anything other than light the torch and get back to my bow where I dropped it.
Yeah, because you're kind of getting the torch out, lighting the torch, grabbing your bow, and then you're sort of set up for a shot in the next round, but yeah.
Right.
Okay, cool. All right. Brasswick.
I'm going to guiding bolt him. So once again, I think of this man who had guided me back in Bardoth, and 20-something on the die. Or not on the die, but 20-something with mods.
Okay, yep.
Using it as first level, by the way. Okay, so you guys see this light come shooting out of my shield at him, and it hits the troll. And afterwards, as opposed to just, disappearing, you see him start to kind of glitter like something out of Twilight. And that's it.
Wow. Awesome. All right, how much damage was it?
I think 20 something. I don't even know. I just moved my dice. Whatever I said. Someone in the chat tell me what I said.
I'm gonna say 20.
I don't know.
You said 20 something.
22.
4d6. No, that was on. Oh, did I tell you? I didn't tell you my damage. I just rolled it and then moved it.
Yeah.
Oh shit. I'm gonna re-roll it. Sorry, my bad.
It was numbers. It was some numbers. Something on the die.
Ooh, that
17.
looks low. I'm gonna...
17.
17. Okay, awesome.
Sorry, I'm really tired and excited because we've played so long. And, my
I'm
bad.
tired. I'm excited. I got a fresh batch of laundry going here in the back.
I do. I'm everywhere. I got to be up at 4 in the morning to drive for 2 hours for work.
Oh man. Okay, so that was all right. Brasswick, do you want to move or anything else? Because the troll has moved out of melee range.
Oh yeah, I'm moving close enough that my stuff can, my spirit guardians can start hitting him again.
Okay, cool.
And so he'll have to make a DC save again.
On his turn, right?
Or anytime he enters it. So by
okay,
me
so
entering
technically
it
right
that would
now.
count, too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He makes it with a 16.
Alright, so he gets half.
Yeah.
Half damage!
He's not looking so good.
15. So 8.
8 damage. Okay. Cool. Yeah, the troll is dragging at this point. There are chunks of it missing. But you see every few seconds stuff just kind of starts closing up, but it seems like you're doing more damage to the troll than it can regenerate on its turn. Like the wounds are not quite closing up, the blood is not quite stopping its flow. Okay, Dice, you're up.
Dice can feel inside of his new staff that there's some sort of power just emanating in it, more so than before, especially now that Durgan has added this piece of, I believe it was primordial bone, into the staff. And he begins to feel that again for the first time since he had that yew staff lost in the forest. And he takes his staff, kind of looks at it for a second, and then, like reassuring himself, continues to focus on the spell that he's been casting, this cloud of daggers. And he looks up. This place is kind of crumbly. There are a lot of pillars that are kind of crumbling or toppled. What does the ceiling look like? Is there a pillar nearby the troll that kind of looks a little,
Yes, there is. A lot of the pillars are looking like you could go and lean on them and they'd fall over. And the troll happens to be very near to one of those pillars. He's actually sort of next to one of the pillars, and across from him there's an elf sort of behind him on another one of the pillars that's shooting him. So he's kind of between two pillars.
Okay, great. So Dice will focus with his staff on the cloud of daggers that he cast, looking at the pillar, and he will lower his hand kind of parallel to the floor and begin lifting up off the ground. And he will just kind of hover his way over to that pillar in preparation to possibly knock it over onto the troll when he can.
Awesome. And don't forget that primordial bone has been carved into a little river bear, a little otter.
It was a little. It's going on the fridge. This is so sweet, Durgan. Thank you.
And it says, river bear magnet.
It says Durgan, like with a backwards R, and it's like It's like Miss Clemens' third grade.
Durgin.
Stone Rift Elementary.
Stone Rift Elementary. Oh man. Okay.
Next year you'll get a little handprint art. It's a cute little dwarf handprint.
It's like instead of a turkey, it's a cockatrice. Like just like.
Look, I made a cockatrice.
Look at them stubby little digits.
Stone Rift Elementary bumper sticker. Our mascot is the river bear.
Yeah. All right. That was Dice. Durgan, it's your turn.
So, Durgan's been tossed about here. He was thrown as a match, hit the wall, and then rocks fell on him. So I think I'm sort of, that like white, I'm chalked. I'm like one of the guys from Jackass just like white-outed me or whatever it is when they throw that flower right in your face.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but I look around and I see Storm's Reach, and I grab it, and something sort of flashes in my mind, and something sort of dawns on me, and I realize it's like I see the creature before me, and it's obviously this really large troll, but it's sort of like, and it flashes all the way back before I had ever become a paladin, before I had ever really been an adventurer, and I see this hill giant, and I start to see it's like flashing back and forth, and I realize that this thing almost looks like just a more deformed, contorted version of a hill giant. And I start and so I get very upset. And you see this sort of red energy kind of glow through the handle of the hammer, and it goes through the piece that I took from Matron Elmira, her leather binding, and it goes all the way to the coin, and the half hill giant coin that shattered begins to burn a red, and you see Durgan's eyes for the first time begin to glow a red, and in a voice that is not his own, he begins to speak, and he says, "You will fall by my hammer." And he takes Storm's Reach, and he just Thors it, like, except instead of a bolt of electricity, instead of this, bluish, it's this fiery red light as he just throws it, realizing that the foe that stands before him is the foe from which he needs to get retribution.
Awesome. take a point of inspiration and roll for attack.
Awesome. I might need that. Okay, no. 21.
21 hits.
Yes. So, 8. $19 points of damage.
Damn.
Yeah, man,
So-
it's that hammer.
There is like an audible crack and like ping, like when you hit something really hard with a hammer, just reverberates through this hall, and dust sort of falls from the ceiling as just the immense power and energy of Storm's Reach connects with the troll's rotting head, and it rips that dead head from the troll, and just it comes off in just a sort of sinewy, leathery strip, and just flies, sort of revolving through the air, and crashes to the ground, rolling to a stop in a pile of debris. And the troll sort of almost falls, catches himself with his tiny deformed arm, and picks himself back up and locks eyes with you, Durgan, like, oh, you did not just knock off my second head. All right. So that was Durgan. It's the troll's turn.
He takes I pre-rolled for it. He takes 13 damage.
Thank you.
Dude, I'm rocking these Game Science D4s today, baby.
Yeah.
Game science. Did you fill them in real quick? Did you color them in?
Yeah, I did. They're blue. I'll show them in break.
Okay.
Awesome. And then Brasswick, does he take the spirit damage as well this turn, or?
It sounds like if he enters it, when he enters it, and also at the beginning of every turn, as long as he's in it.
Okay, so yeah, so he took it because he technically entered it again, and then it's his turn, so he's gonna have to take another saving throw. Okay, cool.
Yep.
He does not make it.
And I rolled damage already, and I have 14.
You guys are the best pre-rolling this damage, man. I like it.
That's because I wanted to keep hitting him.
Yeah. No, it's very efficient though. That's good.
Pre-roll, wink, wink, juice. Pre-roll, you and I, same page.
Well, I rolled it because you said you pre-rolled. I was like, oh, I better roll.
Okay. All right. Okay, so he's going to... Let's see, so Brasswick is beside him. Brasswick, he sort of flails out with one of his arms and swats at you for 11 bludgeoning damage, and actually pushes you back a few feet from just the force of this sort of slap, this backhand slap. And then he's going to look at Durgan. And Durgan, I imagine you're about 20, 30 feet away from him probably.
Sure.
Yeah, because you had to be in range for Storm's Reach.
Yeah.
And he just he sort of starts charging towards you. And he almost runs like a gorilla, sort of like using all three of his arms to carry himself through the hall, and he sort of smashes up against a pillar as he's running and keeps coming towards you, just with this malice in his eyes as black viscous blood is dripping from where its second head used to be. And Brasswick, you can go ahead and take an opportunity attack against it as it charges towards Durgan.
All right. So I swing my battle axe, 17 to hit,
Hits.
and that'll be 7 points of slashing damage as I cut into his thigh.
Okay. And it does not slow him down. He keeps coming towards Durgan, and he wheels back with his fist. He's going to come down, and Durgan, he barely gets you for 10 bludgeoning damage with this club that he just brings down.
Awesome.
Okay, and then he regenerates.
Can I take the damage by... See, I don't have Storm's Reach, so since he barely hit, can I take that damage by... I'm literally putting both of my hands up in the air trying to catch the hammer. Like, stopping it, like...
trying to block the club.
Just that,
yeah.
like... And I stop it, but it's like...
Yeah, you feel something kind of crack in your wrist as it's coming
The
down.
damage was you not being strong enough to hold it. Your bones are like cracking. Oh, I can't catch the hammer now.
All right. That was the troll. And we're back around to Erdon. So Erdon, the troll is probably about 30 or 40 feet away from you now as it's moved towards Durgan.
Right. So I retrieve my bow, and as I do so, I remove from my belt. Actually, we elves in the Shade Vale, we're used to fighting trolls and orcs, and so there's a certain pitch that we have from trees in the Shade Vale that we use to apply to our arrows before lighting them as we battle with trolls. And it hadn't occurred to me since I've been out of the Shade Vale for so long, but now I apply said pitch, and
Awesome.
I let loose 2 arrows. The first one will be terrible, and the second one will be a 20.
Yeah, that definitely hits.
All right.
And go ahead and give yourself a point of inspiration for the pitch, dude. That's awesome.
All right, cool. And that will be for 8 piercing damage. So I let loose an arrow, and I'm going right for its torso.
Absolutely. And the arrow, the burning arrow, sort of strikes true. And, you know, the troll, it's been hit with a ton of damage, but it hasn't really reacted in pain yet. But as the burning arrow sinks into its flesh, you know, it's not doing a ton of damage, but as it sizzles and singes, the troll kind of wheels back and sort of flails its arms as the fire hits it. So it will not be regenerating this turn.
Cool.
Okay. All right, anything else, Erdon?
No, that's it.
Okay. Brasswick.
Oops. All right, so Brasswick will then try to run up and, seeing that he went at Durgan, I'm going to try and hit him right in his back with my battle axe. And 23 or 21, I'm sorry.
21 to hit is definitely a hit.
Yeah, for 2 points of damage.
Okay.
Clink. What?
Every little bit counts, man. Especially now that it's not regenerating. Okay. Anything else, Brasswick? You gonna move?
No. I'm gonna stay right where I'm at, I think.
Probably a good idea. All right. Dice.
The cloud of just stone daggers just stops immediately, and all the stone rubble just kind of falls to the floor, covered in this troll's blood. And maybe there might be just a small, tiny moment of just quiet, and you hear Dice say, "Heads up," as he attempts to shove, using his staff, maybe pry off the top of this pillar onto the troll.
Okay, so go ahead and give me a strength check, Dice. Or athletics. If you wanted to use athletics, you could.
I would love to use athletics.
Okay.
I lift, bro.
Because that's soldier background.
23.
Even lift.
23?
23.
Dude, awesome.
I was a 19. Yep.
Okay, so go ahead and roll 3d6 for the bludgeon damage.
Okay. That is a 13.
Okay. So, Dice, go ahead and describe to me how you bury the now burning Deadhead and how you kill it.
Oh my gosh. So you see this huge chunk of pillar just fall on top of this troll, and not only does it just lands directly on its other head and just spews out troll brain just everywhere. Whoever's closest to it, you just get covered on your shoes. It's just like and Dice will stop flying, fall to the floor, and cast Feather Fall, and just land. And his staff is still up there, and it falls also and lands in his hand. And he said, "Well, that's probably the coolest thing I'll ever have done. So it's all downhill from here."
Oh man. There's actually one of the watchers. You hear like a hollow like. One of the watchers like up on the pillars, kind of like put his bow on his shoulder, and he's kind of like just kind of slow clapping dice. The troll now buried under this rubble, its head smashed. You see its sort of clawed hands sort of gripping together as its nerves sort of react as it dies. And it just sits there smoldering, and smoke sort of rises from its body as the fire from Erdon's arrow overtakes it. And it moves no more. Good job, everybody.
That was awesome.
That was sweet.
Who got covered with troll brain on their boots?
Most definitely Durgan.
Of course.
I think everyone else was far enough away.
I was gonna say it's very kind of you to just say boots too, because I imagine it was like.
Oh man.
We can do that too.
It like covers the wall, and then there's like a Durgan-shaped like spot that's not covered in blood because it just hit Durgan. Yeah.
Gross.
I'm just like.
Durgan, about where you're standing, if you look kind of over to the right, you see that there's a pile of what looks like garbage. It's like discarded remains of animals, other trolls, orcs. There's like a few kind of rusted weapons, a few sort of bags and pieces of cloth and things like that. But there are a few kind of glittery bits that catch your eye in that pile of refuse. It looks like this was the troll's sort of like hoard, so to speak. Any of the cool stuff that it got off of its victims, it sort of tossed in this corner.
So I would sort of, hey, look at this, and especially to Brasswick. Ooh, look at this, all that glitters, huh? Sort of wiping the gunk off me, and I walk over to the pile and sort of start doing the look around, kind of like poking maybe with some of my hand axes, sort of making sure that there's no half-living, maybe orcs or trolls or anything in there.
Right, yeah.
What would I see if I started kind of poking around?
So as you poke through the refuse and stuff, and it's not a pleasant. It's like rooting through a dumpster. It's pretty gross, but you do find some things that look unmarred. That look like they aren't worthless, not rusted and things like that. So you find a sort of forest green cloak that has this pattern, almost like leaves to it. And Erdon, if you're nearby, you would recognize this as an old magic cloak of Shade Vale, something that is pretty rare nowadays and that is pretty hard to find. But you definitely recognize the style of your culture in that cloak.
Mm-hmm.
You also find, Durgan, a battle axe, clearly of dwarven make, but it looks old to you. Like, it's flawless. It doesn't look like it's aged a bit, but the design of it is very old. And if you had to make a guess, you would say that it's not of mountain dwarf make, it's not of hill dwarf make. This is probably from before the Exodus, when the dwarves split off and began developing differently. So it's at least a few thousand years old. A very beautiful looking battle axe. It's probably been down here for some time.
It's not an ancient relic of my faith that was lost long ago, was it?
No, but definitely catches your eye, Brasswick. Definitely. You also find a small vial of a strange sort of... It almost looks like mercury, sort of liquid metal, but it's sort of bluish in color. It has this bluish tint to it. It's kind of unlike anything you've ever seen before. In addition to that, you also find about 500 gold pieces worth of coins and gems and various pieces of jewelry.
And so I think I would kind of be doing that. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody looking through a yard sale. Like, I think I kind of hold up the green cloak, and I'm like, oh, hey, this looks like it's pretty good. And I kind of sling it over my one shoulder, and I'm rummaging through. And I think when I see the axe, I would sort of make sure, I'd be like, oh, I hope Brasswick isn't looking. Like, oh man, I just found a Super Nintendo with 20 games for $5. I hope I hope my buddy doesn't see this. So I sort of look, and then I sort of look, and then I think that's when the mercurial vial sort of catches my eye. And then I would just turn, and I think as I do that, some things come loose, and like maybe a pouch splits open, so that some gold coins and stuff go kind of at my feet. I found quite a bit of good stuff, if you all want to divvy it up.
That axe, though.
Yeah, I think I see a cloak of elven make there. Let's have a closer look.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, it looks, I mean, there's leaves on it. You lot are the only one that love leaves this much. And I would sort of throw it to Erdon.
And I would catch it and kind of just be looking it over like a crafting lady at Joanne Fabrics.
Yeah, it's definitely a cloak of your people, Erdon, and touching it, you see that, it, even though it was in a pile of refuse, it doesn't look tattered or frayed. It looks as beautiful and vibrant as the day it was stitched and probably enchanted. So it's definitely a magic item of some sort.
Cool.
I kind of walk up to Durgan, and I see that he kind of sees me walking up, and he turns so that the hand holding the vial is closer to me, and I kind of push the hand aside and grab the axe. And you can tell he's like holding it real strong, and I'm like, give me that. I don't say that, but and I look at it, and I kind of, oh, this feels nice.
What about that vial? What's that?
And I kind of look through it at Dice, and your shape through the liquid looks really weird. I'm like, oh, it's very weird. It's like metal. Here, I'll throw it. Wait.
No.
Well, and then I sort of hand it to Dice.
And Dice will look at it kind of like someone touring the glassware at Hobby Lobby, and
these analogies are just fantastic.
All old seamstress analogies. We're like, and I'm at the Joanne's, and there's a lady in front of me without a ticket, and she skips me.
How is this vial $27? I just don't get it.
Never go to Joanne's without a coupon.
That's great, man.
Using the knowledge of arcane that I have, is there any way for me to deduce what this is?
Yeah, give me an Arcana check.
Excuse me.
I can hear those Joanne Fabric. Never mind. I'm not even going there. Never mind. We're not.
We've gone there all night, man.
No, never mind.
That's a 14.
A 14?
Yep.
So, you haven't really seen anything like this before, but you've heard of certain metals that melt at really, really low temperatures, and you can find them deep in the ground. You can't really pinpoint what this is specifically. It's mercury-esque, but it's not mercury. It doesn't have that silver color to it. Like I said, it's sort of bluish in nature, but you definitely know that it is metal in a liquid state.
Interesting. Can I hold on to this? I feel like if I give it back to you, Durgan, you'll... Nothing. I'll just hold on to it.
That sounds good to me.
Seeing Durgan without anything, I kind of walk up and I kind of nudge him. And I look down at my hand at the ring, and I say, nobody can ever hear you when you talk. You're so quiet. You want a ring? And I pull it off and I put it in his hand.
And I would take it with kind of a look on my face like, what's... Well, that's you... Of course, I mean, are you sure? I can't I mean...
It's equal value to to this old axe, you know. I mean, they're equal.
I sort of like put it on my finger, and Matt, you said that it sort of takes the shape of the wearer, right?
Yeah, it morphs to perfectly fit. Like it's not too tight, but it's not loose enough where it's gonna fall off.
Yeah, because I mean, Brasswick's fingers are a little fatter than mine. So
Hey, I'm on a diet.
I slide it, and then I'm like, hello, 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 Provoker. This is. Are you sure? And then I'm like, that's amazing. And it's on my left hand, sort of on the other hand. You know, I'm right-handed, so it's like, hail, hail, Provoker. And I'm just being stupid with it.
I turn to Dice, and I say, see, I thought that'd be a good idea. Look, he's got a new toy. He's going to have a blast with that thing.
He's having a good time. Sorry.
No, not at all.
So, Tim, that's the Convoker ring that you guys pulled off of Migrog Oakfell like 7 or 8 sessions ago. It looks like it's made of kind of white marble. You know, it has kind of that grain of marble in it with the kind of the grays and the blacks with the white. It gives you +1 to your AC, and you can use your action to cause your voice to carry 300 feet.
And there's just a quick moment. You know, I'm sort of laughing and joking and so on, but you know, I sort of find a quiet moment for a second, and I do go over to Brasswick, and I just sort of, in a way that we usually don't interact, you know, I just sort of am very candid and probably pretty direct, and I just say, thank you. I know we compete and have a good time of all this, but you're like a brother to me, and I've never had a brother. And so Durgan sort of like awkwardly goes to bro hug Brasswick.
We both can't get like the right, you know.
Yeah,
we're trying to go the same way. It's like
awkward. It's just that weird like. You know,
but then it's like a really long embrace. It's too long for comfort. It's like,
yeah. And then we don't really know how to end it. Just kind of like, yeah, good fight though, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, good fight. Got to clean up a little bit, and I start sort of healing myself, doing some lay on hands.
The battle axe, Brasswick, as soon as you grabbed it out of Durgan's hand, you felt almost like a jolt go through your arm. Like, this is something special. And if you want to give me a history check, I can tell you a little bit more about it.
I do want to. I don't want to. 5.
So, like I said, it's definitely something from before the Exodus. But beyond that, you don't really know anything. There's not really a whole lot that's known about what dwarven culture was like before the Exodus, just because it was such like a catastrophic thing for the dwarves. But
I'm sure it had a good story too.
Yeah, I mean, I got 15 pages written down here, but that's fine. You failed your
It's all good.
Check, so, yeah.
Does it make sense? And I'm not trying to metagame, but does it make sense that Durgan would have the same sort of opportunity having held it and handed it to him?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
You better roll high, Tim. I want to know what this thing does. Like, I want to know what it's used for.
Oh man, I don't know. You said it was history, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just, I don't have any modifications, so it's
That's
a
not
9.
our strong suit. That's not our strong suit.
It's a 9.
You guys are like, looks old. Like, that's basically what
It's definitely an axe. I mean, there's no question.
Hey, Dice served as the historian in the guard at Talmor, so
Go for it. History checks.
Somebody.
What else want
You get a history check. You get a history check.
I got a 21.
You got a 21?
Yeah, I actually Dice does actually have very good. He's very proficient in history.
I think
and
that's
he did
really
21.
humorous that the two dwarves don't know and you do. That's just a really cool thing.
That should be a moment that we have. Like, really? You don't. Gosh, yeah. I'll tell you about this. What do I tell him about it?
So that axe is actually it's actually a axe of the royal guard of the old dwarven kings from before the Exodus. So the dwarves used to have a fairly amazing empire before Kazran rose up. And as the elves and the dwarves sort of dwindled, Kazran sort of filled that void. And as Kazran sort of grew stronger and stronger, many of the dwarves were enslaved. And then there was a event known as the Exodus, when a bunch of dwarves rebelled and escaped and fled to the south, and eventually became the dwarves of Stone Rift. And then there were other dwarves who stayed and toiled away and helped build the Kazran Empire. And as the empire toppled, they were instrumental in the Kazran Civil War. They sided with Eros the Reclaimer and fought against the Lich Emperor. After the empire fractured, they created kingdoms like Bardoth and other hill dwarf kingdoms to the north. This axe is from before all of that happened. This was carried by a royal guard who protected the old dwarven kings before the rise of the Kazran Empire. And it's a +2 battle axe.
Great. And Dice he'll explain that sort of, but he'll actually pull a small book out of a satchel that he's got on his back, and it's called A History of Empires, and it's super held together with just like wrapping and leather, because if you open it wrong, the pages will just come tumbling out. And he'll hand it to Brasswick and say, "Oh, that's I got it from Stone Rift. The king, the one that's still alive. I can't remember his name. He gave it to me. He caught me stealing it, and he gave it to me."
So I kind of take it and I look and go to the page that he referenced, and I read it and I go, yeah, Durgan and I already knew this. It was unspoken because we knew all of this, right, Durgan?
Oh yeah, I mean it was like the basics. We're just covering the basics, so I didn't want to bore everyone with the details.
Yeah, we didn't think you and Erdon wanted to hear about our dwarven culture and where we come from and stuff. So
I still don't.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. I'm with Erdon.
And Durgan is noticeably red. He's like that kid that got caught in a lie. Like he told all his friends he went and saw the movie last weekend, and then they're like, "Well, how does it end?" And he's like, "Well, I'm testing you. You tell me how it ends."
It ends with Brasswick winning the war and getting rid of all this stuff. We're gonna be safe. Don't worry.
What are the other elves doing around us?
The Watchers, the ones that were up on the pillars, have sort of slid down, undone their sort of braces against the pillar, and they've come to stand beside you, and they're sort of looking over your shoulder as you're sort of going through the pile, and they're sort of keeping watch as you guys are divvying up the items. By the way, Erdon, that cloak, if you decide to put it on, I can just tell you what it does.
You're muted, Nate.
Yeah, sorry. As these other elves come down, I would probably kind of, show it to them, like, check this out, and I would kind of take my pack off and swing it around my shoulders.
The cloak is a cloak of elven kind. So what this does for you is, if you pull the hood up, it basically camouflages you wherever you are. So it takes on the color and the texture of the backdrop, sort of chameleon style. So when you put the hood up, you have disadvantage on perception checks, but advantage to stealth checks.
Okay. Awesome.
So you can basically keep it on, and then you just turn it on by putting the hood up, and that initiates the camouflage, basically.
Nice.
And these used to be like when magic was more prevalent in Aeronoth, the elves of Shade Vale, like every Watcher had one of these cloaks, and they were known for moving unseen through the wood.
Sweet.
Okay, as you're sort of finishing up, divvying up the items, one of the Watchers kind of comes forward and says, "We should probably go back, get Mir and the others, and get the hell out of these tunnels?
Yes. As soon as possible.
Right. We can send some of us back to tell them to come. The rest of us can stay here and hold this position, if you wish.
I wonder if my friends need a rest. How are we feeling, boys? How are the wounds?
Wounds?
I'm good.
I'll be alright. I'm kind of like just covered in troll brains. And I would sort of give Erdon this look that I think he would recognize by now. Like, these guys can't hold this position. Like, this is where they die if something attacks. Yes.
I want to be among those who go back, if any are going back. I don't know if my friends are up to that. Are you up for following me? I want to be as close as possible to my sister and the others.
Eridon, you're in charge. This is your domain. We follow
All
you
right.
anywhere.
You lot, can you please stay here and hold this position? And I'm speaking to the other elves now.
The Watchers nod to you, Eridon, and say, "Of course." And the one who's seemingly in charge sort of speaks a few words in Elven, and two of the surviving elves scramble back up the pillars and sort of lean back against them with their bows out. And the leader of the Watchers sort of nods to you and says, "We'll hold it at all costs. We'll expect to see you back here soon, though."
Right. And, yeah, so then we sling my pack back over my shoulder and begin walking back the direction of the of Mir and the others.
Yeah. So you all make it back to the room that has been barricaded without incident. The druidic ward, the vines that are holding the door closed, open at your coming. The doors swing open. Mir and Larawise meet you. And Mir says, "Is it done then? Is the path clear?"
Aye, it's done.
Good, good. Well, we should move with all haste then. And you see that he's kind of been preparing everyone to get ready to go. Everyone's all packed up. They have all of their belongings sort of carried with them. And he sort of starts shouting orders in Elven, or in Elvish, for everyone to move. And Mir comes up to you, Eridon, and he puts a hand on your shoulder and he says, "We are eternally grateful. Thank you."
Of course. Anything to keep my sister safe. Thank you for staying with her. And we'll have a much easier time now.
Of course, your sister is vital to the survival of our people. It is my priority to protect her and keep her safe.
Whatever your reasons. Thank you. All right.
So, the elves, again, there's about 300 of them who have survived the desolation above. They've packed up all their belongings, and you all sort of march back to where you killed the troll. The Watchers have secured the position. They slide down the pillars as you approach and take up defensive positions alongside, to the back, to the front, always watching. Bows out, arrows sort of set to the strings in case they need to pull back and fire really quick. And you continue through the troll tunnels. And I mentioned last session that when Durgan was sort of getting a feel for the stone here, that you were passing through the darkest parts of the tunnel. And that holds true as you move through the tunnels, and you feel that you're slowly going up. There's just the slightest slope to these tunnels, and you feel like you're moving up and up and up, and the tunnels get less claustrophobic. They get less sort of closed in around you. The air gets fresher, and you walk for probably another 3-4 hours, winding your way through the tunnels, up and up and up, and finally you see light ahead of you, and a great cry goes up from the elves who have been trapped in these tunnels for several days at this point. And you continue moving, and eventually you break through, and you're blinded momentarily as the sun reaches you for the first time in about a day for you, Provokers. And you are standing outside. And as you sort of look around to get your bearings, you see that behind you, many, many leagues behind you, you see the forest of Shade Vale. And you see the rivers of Gwynterod sort of winding their way below you. You see that you've come out on this sort of cluster of hills. And the tunnel behind you is sort of hidden from view. It's sort of tucked back behind these hills so that it's not sort of apparent to anyone who's passing by. And below you, you see a beautiful lake, river-fed lake that drains out towards the Kazran Sea, far, far to the west. And there's a little town just sort of sitting on the edge of this lake, tucked up against the hills, and docks are sort of running their way out into the lake. And anyone who's familiar with this area would know that this is the town of Fulgrim. And Mir says, "Oh, we've made it. That is the town of Fulgrim. We trade with them from time to time. I think they will give us refuge. Well, I hope that they will."
Dice kind of smells. Oh, sorry, Airden. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I kind of look around and say, any of you ever been to Fulgrim before?
Dice will kind of smell Durgan and kind of smell his own armpit and say, "Never, but that's a nice-looking lake."
I've never been there. No.
I can't say that I've heard of it. I've never been there either. And then Durgan would sort of smell himself. It's a nice looking lake.
Mir says, well, we should go down there. Maybe we shouldn't all go at once. Maybe we should leave a majority of the people here, approach, treat with the people of Fulgrim, and see if we're able to stay there for the time being.
Yes, that's wise.
I don't much like the idea of staying in a city other than Shade Vale, but with the orc army moving, I'd much prefer the people to be behind walls than out in the open.
Yes. So, Matt, what do we know of Fulgrim race-wise? How would they feel about elves, dwarves?
So, Eridon, you remember, you've never been to Fulgrim, but you remember that you used to get fish, salted fish from Fulgrim, and the traders would come through maybe once or twice a year to Shade Vale. That, you know, the elves didn't do a whole lot of trading, but Fulgrim is probably the closest settlement to Shade Vale, so occasionally they would trade. And it's mostly made up of humans, but it's got some halflings and some hill dwarves, and there are half-elves as well. So you imagine that, you know, it's a fairly diverse population. The main thing would just be space. Like, do they have space for 300 elves of Shade Vale? And the other thing would be, too, is, how would they react to the idea that these are refugees because of a huge army of orcs that is potentially moving towards Fulgrim?
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So I'm kind of thinking that a group of maybe just elves would be wiser than well, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? I look around.
You know the region better than I do.
Aye.
We're still following you, Aridon. I'm sorry for the pressure, but these are your people. And Dice will look around at all the elves, and this is, this is no Talmor.
We don't know how they'll take to us. And I look at Brasswick and myself.
I guess I would probably defer to Mir and say, what do you think, Mir? What would it be best if you went, perhaps you and my sister, or?
And Mir kind of scratches at his head and kind of taps his eye, and he says, "Believe it or not, I tend to unsettle people." He says, "I would be happy to treat on our behalf, but that was something usually... well, Elmira usually did that. I will say this."
Understood.
I will say this, Aridon. Elmira and myself had heard of your party's doings before you arrived in Shade Vale. It would stand to reason that perhaps word has reached Fulgrim of your accomplishments as well. You might have some sway.
A fair point.
And he kind of looks at Brasswick and he says, "And you, dwarf, you are a follower of the god Ilmater, correct?"
Yes. What gave it away? The logo on the shield?
Yeah, it's something like that. They worship Ilmater here in Fulgrim, or at least they have in the last decade or so.
Decade? Interesting.
Yes. In any case, that might give you some sway as well.
Okay. I think we'll be okay then, guys.
Yeah, I guess it hadn't occurred to me that people sort of know who we are.
Apparently. All right, we'll go. Let's set off at once. We need to get these people taken care of as soon as possible.
And
And
bathe.
and bathe. Before you leave, though, Mir is standing there and he has his hand on Larowise's shoulder, and he says, "Aridon, wait, before you go." And he draws forth a dagger of bone, and he's holding it up. And then he takes his hand and he cuts his hand, and you see blood sort of drip from his hand where he's cut it. And he holds his hand out to you, Aridon, and he says, "By the blood of the Old One, by the bones of the elders, in the name of Matron Elmira Marrowblade, Shade Vale pledges itself to you. You have seen your part of the bargain through. It is in my best interest to uphold my end of the bargain. The Watchers are yours in the coming battle."
Thank you. We'll need them against the Corruptor. Thank you. And I guess I would kind of, reach forward and just put my hand on his shoulder. And I would look at my sister, and I would nod to her too. And just give her kind of a knowing look, a grateful look, and say, and I would say to her specifically, "We'll be back soon. We'll make sure everyone is taken care of. I look forward to catching up."
And she nods to you, Aridon, and you see that in her eyes, she believes you. She says, "I know."
And I think Durgan would take a quick moment and just sort of really square things away with Mir. It started off a little rough, and I think that, Durgan would sort of be like, I consider you a brother in arms, and you have my steel any day. And Durgan would hold out a stubby hand, and he'd say, "You don't need your eye to know that I'm telling you the truth."
And Mir would kind of nod to you, and he says, "No, I don't, but it helps."
And Durgan would laugh. Oh, ah. You know, I like you more every minute.
I've heard that before. Thank you.
Not sure I believe that.
He says, "We'll hold here. I hope you bring back good news, Erdon."
Aye. Me too.
So, and with that, do the Provokers head down to the town of Fulgrim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right before, actually, there would be like a subtle like goodbye between Dice and Mir, and maybe Mir would do kind of that shoulder hand thing, kind of, because we've had a strange, clashy past. But then Dice, with those words on his mind, you have the Watchers. The Watchers are yours. That he said to Erdogan. Dice would just go up and just embrace Mir, just thinking completely of Falhast, and he just smells terrible. Dice just smells awful, and then he kind of lets go and grasps him by both shoulders and says, "Thank you. We'll see you."
And while you're hugging him, he kind of like, he has his hands like this, and then he kind of awkwardly pats you on the back and like looks at Erdon, just kind of like, and then as you hold him out with your arms, he just nods to you and says, "Of course. Good luck."
And I would imagine that as we walk down to Fulgrim, it's like I think we're probably all kind of giddy at this point. Like Erdogan has been trying to remain like, yes, serious. You're upholding your end of the deal, but now it's just like, yes. And so I imagine there's a lot of backslapping as we walk down to Fulgrim, and we're in good spirits.
Absolutely.
Guys, did you hear it? This place worships Ilmater. This is one of the few places in my travels.
It's one of the few places in Erebon.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, guys, just 3 or 4 minutes, and then come back. We're probably about a little over halfway through the session. So
Cool.
Awesome. Love
cool.
that so far.
All right. See you guys in just a bit.
As I was on my way to Misty Meadows, I met a coven of 7 widows. Each widow's sack had 7 rats. Each sack of rats had 1 dead cat. Each stone-dead cat had 20 flies. All sets of flies had 2 red eyes.
All right, just me. Thanks for watching, everybody. I do want to say, I'll type it in here too. Check the Aeronaut wiki for a map of this area.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
By
Matt's
the way,
done a lot of work on that wiki, and I think this map is by some of the same guy who did some of the art in the Wayward Wanderer. Is that right?
yes, yeah. So it was done by John Pintar, who did the amazing cover in the Wayward Wanderer supplement, and he did that map for me. And I also have him working on the art for the next Aeronaut supplement, which is coming out here in a few weeks.
Awesome.
Also, Nate, I'm a big dummy. I accidentally said that it gave you disadvantage on perception checks.
Yep.
It's everyone else gets disadvantage trying to perceive you. So
okay.
anyone who's actively looking for you making a perception check gets disadvantage on that check. So
Okay.
I was a big dummy. I read it incorrectly because I was just skimming over it when I was giving you the stuff. So
I know how it goes.
yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Oh, 1 second. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
What you eating, Nate?
Mmm.
Sounds like cereal.
It is, man. I'm crunching away here.
Dude,
In
there's
my
a certain
microphone.
there's a certain bite, there's a certain chew and like sound to cereal.
Mhm.
It looks like you're eating Chex.
You're not far off. They are square.
You're okay.
Just like me. No. Oh.
Are you eating something sugary and delicious, or are you eating something healthier?
Healthier.
Cheese
I'm
it.
pretty sure. It's Quaker. No, is it Quaker? I think it is. Oatmeal squares.
Oh, dude, no, I never would have guessed that.
I love oatmeal squares, man. They're good.
Oh, legit.
That one- Yeah.
It's sort of what, like, does it taste like
Oh.
oatmeal?
You gotta try them, man. You gotta get
Here,
some of
give
these.
me-
They sell them at Costco. Yeah. There, take a bite. Yeah. I think I got it in your ear, actually.
That's okay.
Okay.
It all goes down into that same tube. I've seen the looks.
Hmm.
What's love got to do with it?
Got to do with it.
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know. I don't even know.
Dude, plain text, who's in the chat. Yes, I can hear cereal from a mile off. It's that mixture of the milk and usually some sort of grain, corn or otherwise. Gotta tell you, went to the store the other night, picked up a family-sized box of one of the Halloween cereals, Frankenberry.
Oh, Frankenberry.
Dude, man, it's so good.
I love that whole line, man.
Right?
Chocula, Booberry, Frankenberry. What was the mummy one?
Oh, the
Oh,
mummy
I
one was my
forget.
favorite. It's kind of fruity, I think. Or...
Yeah.
Is
And then
Fruity
there was-
Mummy?
It was well there was Fruit Brute, which was the werewolf one, Fruit Brute.
Fruit Brute, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and then there was the mummy one. I can't remember. Someone's going to say it in the chat.
I'm Googling it. Should we wait?
Yep.
Oh,
Wait for the chat to catch up.
So if we're talking about food, Heather brought home some fast food. It's a little bit of a cheat, right? Because anyway.
Mhm.
But she got Carl's Jr. and I told her to get whatever, and she got me this thing called the El Diablo.
Yes.
Dude, this is one of my favorite new fast food burgers.
Is it the one with the fried jalapenos and the fresh jalapenos?
Yes, the jalapenos and the jalapeno poppers
Yes.
on the burger. Dude, I'm gonna regret the hell out of it, but for now my sinuses are clear.
Yeah.
dude. So in my mind, see, I forget. Carl's Jr. is Hardee's for us.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, Carl's Jr. What's that? Oh, that. I've had that burger.
Oh
It's
my God.
delicious. It's got the pepper jack cheese on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, I had that probably last week.
With the bun.
You absolutely will regret it, and it's the
I know.
most worthwhile regret.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
Because it's worth it. It is the tax you pay.
It's
too
like
hot.
it's
already
how
can
we
tell.
felt the morning after eating Jack in the Box
Exactly.
at like 3 in the morning after picking Tim up from the airport.
You pay the boatman of the Porcelain River Styx tomorrow.
Nope. Nope.
Britt in the chat had the exact same freaking burger as me for dinner.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm gonna
Oh man.
I had popcorn shrimp for dinner, and it was delicious.
popcorn and shrimp. That's a very
No, popcorn
strange-
shrimp.
I know,
Popcorn shrimp.
I know. The and cut out for me. I was like, I just take a bunch of raw shrimp and I throw them in the microwave for about 60 seconds, and then pop, they turn pink.
You gotta make sure they got the shell on.
I'm actually having a new thing that Tila and I are really into for dinner. Non-pizza. It's where you make pizza on naan bread, like Indian naan bread, and you do curry instead of pizza sauce, and then you do like a mozzarella cheese, and then you do like onions, like any sort of vegetables that you would have in curry, and then like chicken or something like that, and then you cook it like a pizza, and it's delicious. It's so good.
That sounds like something my wife would like.
Yeah.
I would love
Mine's
that.
the chicken.
I gotta try that.
Your gaming wife would love it. Me, I would love it.
Well, my wife is a gamer, though.
Uh-oh.
So I have two gaming wives, apparently.
Uh-oh.
Oh, snap.
Juice can get it, man. He's got 2 wives.
One has a blue beard.
One has a blue beard. Filmmaker's all about that stuff.
All right. Are you guys ready to continue?
Mm-hmm.
Always.
So, you kind of trudge down this grassy hilltop, and you see the lake before you. And the lake it's called Loch Brun, and it's it's the biggest lake in the western Southlands. And Fulgrim is sort of tucked up against these hills, like I said, and about half of the town sort of extends out into the lake. Like, it looks like at one point, they had these docks, and the docks kept getting longer, and then fishermen started building their houses next to the docks, and so it's just sort of grown up, sort of almost like a half and half, like Lake Town from The Hobbit, just sort of built up out on this lake. And actually, I just remembered I have some art, so I'm gonna bring that up. As you approach the town and you see that there are boats out on the water, you see that there are dozens of these little boats and a few larger sailboats out on this lake, and there are men and women casting nets out into the water, bringing up nets full of fish. And as you approach the town, you definitely get like that smell of fish, but it's not unpleasant. It doesn't smell like rotten fish. It smells like fresh seafood. Like, it smells like Pike Place Market, that kind of like just very like, it makes you kind of hungry as you approach the town and you smell all these wonderful fish coming up out of the lake. As you approach, you see that the city is walled off with a short wooden wall. It looks like it's short enough where you could climb over it if you wanted to. It's mostly there just for peace of mind for the most part. But there is a gate, and standing at the gate as you approach, with his hands kind of on his hips looking at you curiously, is a halfling. He's a little bit older. You see some gray in his hair, and he has this very nicely oiled handlebar mustache that is curled up on each side. And sort of sitting next to him is this large, kind of skinny dog. Looks like a greyhound. And he sort of puts his hand on the dog's head and sort of pats it, sort of reassuring the dog as you approach. And as you get closer, he says, "All right, then. State your business."
I would actually kind of be in the back here.
I forgot why we were coming here.
I was gonna say, I would look at Brasswick, like clearly seeing he forgot, and sort of like look at him like.
I would actually nudge Dice forward here. I've got this big grizzly scar across my face, and I'm just like kind of a hardened, I don't know, I'm not the most friendly guy, and I know this, so I'm actually
I probably would say I'm here to go to the Temple of Ilmater.
Ah, the Temple of Ilmater. Very well. That's many pilgrims come to Fulgrim to see the temple and speak with the priest. But it's odd to see travelers coming from Tellen's Hillock. Normally, people don't travel through the hills. It's a long, arduous walk. Why did you come from that direction?
We were coming from actually helping the people of Shade Vale. They ran into
Shade
some
Vale.
orcs and trolls, and we had to help them.
Dice would
Yes.
speak up and very hesitantly, kind of not knowing what the reaction will be, he'll say, "We are the Provokers?"
And the halfling actually looks down at his dog, and the dog looks up at him. And he looks back at you, Dice, and he says, "The who now?"
No, not the Who now. We're the Provokers.
We
Yes,
smash our guitars after every set.
I heard what you said. I'm not... I'm sorry. Is that supposed to mean something?
No, apparently not. But he's looking for the Temple of Ilmater. We're looking for a bath, maybe a place to rest a little bit. A drink would be nice.
Of course. I don't mean to keep you up. I was merely curious as to why, for people of varying origins, it would seem, would be trudging through Tellen's Hillock. But we don't turn people away here in Fulgrim, so you're welcome to come inside. In fact, I will walk you to the temple myself. It's been quite a slow day for me. I'm Uriel, by the way, Constable Uriel. And this is August, and he points to his dog.
Pleasure to meet you, Constable.
What was the
Who,
name of the dog?
Argus.
No, Argist. I thought you said August.
Who rules Fulgrim these days?
Well, the priest would tell you that Ilmater does, but, well, the priest does. His name is Uldar. High Priest Uldar.
What? What did you say his name was?
Uldar, Deep Digger.
Durgan knows me pretty well and knows that name apparently struck a chord with me. He kind of sees this look of shock on my face. Oh, okay, yes. I know the name.
Yeah, right? You okay?
Yeah. I know who Aldar is, actually. He's from Bardon originally.
Are you on good terms?
I
have not spoken with him in at least 10 years.
by choice.
No, he left Bardoth. He just came up during our morning duties and told me he had to leave. He had a vision, and I thought he was a bit crazy. See, I was much younger then. And these visions, I was somewhat skeptical back then. A lot has changed.
Well, let's hope he's friendly. Let's go and meet this man.
Yes, let's.
And Uriel starts leading you through the town, and he talks to you while you're walking, and he says, yes, Uldar came to us, well, I guess it would be about 10 years ago now, and he came to us in our darkest hour, in our greatest time of need. It was a time of great strife for us, an event known as the Bloodhoof Blitz, when the centaurs of the Bloodhoof Steppe came raging out of the steppe, setting fire to everything, and Uldar protected us. He was instrumental in us turning the tide of that great battle and sending the centaurs packing back to the steppe, and we haven't seen them since. But he's very well respected here in Fulgrim, and yes, he is a nice man, a very nice man.
He was when I knew him as well. In
I
fact,
can
we were
only
good
imagine
friends.
what he was like back then. I would have liked to have known him.
If you would have told me he would have saved a city, I would have laughed.
Well, He is a great man of faith, and, well, he's shown us quite a bit about enduring, persisting.
Yes, that is good. Sounds like he has been teaching you Ilmater's ways for a while.
So as you move through the streets of Fulgrim, it's a very simple town. It's definitely bigger than Brook was. It has stone streets, kind of cobblestone streets, little short, squat houses, and as you're moving through the streets, moving towards the center of town, you see that there are a few people kind of milling about, some humans, a few halflings, and several hill dwarves, and they kind of look curiously at you as you're walking through the town. Not antagonistic at all, but merely because you're fully decked out in armor and weapons, and you clearly have someone who is holding a magic staff, walking with this staff, and you're covered in troll blood and things like that, so that you definitely strike an odd sort of image walking through the town. And Uriel takes you towards the center of town, and eventually you come to a simple squat stone building. And Brasswick, seeing this building, it's like if you took the temple in Bardoth and picked it up and put it in Fulgrim. Like it is the spitting image of that old temple that you used to work in, and so all of these memories kind of come flooding back to you, and you remember, scrubbing the floors, and you remember that morning when Oldar came to you and told you that he was needed in the south, and you remember that old man covered in sores and wounds who told you that you would meet 3 people who would need your guidance and need your light. And ever since then, you've been able to channel that light. You've been able to channel that energy and use Ilmater's, divine power as you see fit. Uriel takes you towards this building, and you all at once see that there's a wooden rack in front of the temple. And there are 2 men strapped to this rack, sort of with their arms and legs sort of stretched out, strapped by leather straps. And you see that they're sweating in the sun, and you see that they look dehydrated. They look gaunt and emaciated. They look like they've been strapped up here on these racks for days. But Uriel kind of passes by him, almost as if he doesn't notice him.
I would sort of look back, definitely at Dice, definitely at Erdon, like, dude, what's all this about?
It's not right.
Well, I mean, unless they're, some sort of criminals. But even then, I mean, there's prison for that sort of thing. That's how we dwarves handle it.
Reserve judgment, guys, until we find out more.
Aye.
I'm sure there's a reason. There must be.
Let's hope so. And Durgan would sort of look back, and he would sort of fall back to Erdon. And Dice, sort of addressing the 2 of them, concerned but quiet. And Durgan would say, listen, we've been through a lot, and I've seen Brasswick smile in the face of danger. I've seen him charge a 3-headed troll. I've never seen that look in his face. When that fellow that they said he knew, there was some sort of fear or surprise that I haven't seen before. It was unsettling.
I think the odds, it could just be that the odds of meeting a dwarf of the north here is, pretty great, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be something bad.
Aye. Yeah, you're right. Of course you're right. I mean, come on. Being negative. You know what it is? We can't catch a break, and so maybe this is our break.
I hope you're right.
Don't worry too much about it. Like you said, let's reserve judgment, and let's just find out what's going on.
Aye.
And Uriel, who has sort of moved past the rack, sort of looks back and says, "Problem?"
No, none at all.
Good. Well, I'll take you in to see Oldar, and then I'll have to return to my post. It was nice meeting you, gentlemen, however.
Yes, you too.
Aye, nice to meet you. And as Durgan waves, I think a bit of dry troll would fall off his gauntlet.
So he leads you into this simple temple. and it's lit just by the light coming in through the slits in the walls, and there are a few stone pews sort of set along the sides, and then there's a small, just simple altar. It's very Spartan. There's nothing, like I said, there's nothing ornate about this. There's no engravings on the walls. There's no inscriptions anywhere. It's just flat, square stone, cut, quarried stone, and etched kind of like, or not etched, but sort of like kind of raised off the wall is just one simple symbol, and that's the two hands clasped together with the rope around them. And you see that there's a dwarf wearing very simple, rough spun robes, and he's lighting some incense on the altar. And Uriel says, "High Priest, I brought some travelers to see you. They asked for you specifically, and I think one of them might know you." And the dwarf known as Oldar turns, and he sees you, and his face is kind of... He looks at you, Brasswick, and he has a look of surprise, and then his face just breaks into a grin. And he looks very much as he did the day that he left, except that he's totally bald now. But he has a very long, luxurious beard, braided, and he sees you, Brasswick, and he says, "Feeblehammer," and he just comes towards you, and he sort of drops this sort of priestly countenance as he wraps you in a big hug and just pulls you close to him, and then immediately shoves you back and says, "You smell awful."
Ah, Deep Digger. We've been in the troll tunnels of Shade Vale, so...
Troll tunnels?
I know, right?
What? No, you...
Yes.
Absolutely not. I refuse to believe that.
I know, right? I mean, there's a lot that's changed in 10 years, obviously. The idea of me picking up an axe and fighting, well, we've all probably seen quite a bit of change since then. But what happened to your hair?
Oh, well, it's, it fell out, as it's prone to do. But look at you, Brasswick. You're wearing armor. You're carrying a
Check
10
this
years.
Out. Look at this axe.
10 years has changed you much, my friend, but it is good to see you. And then he sort of looks at the rest of the Provokers and says, I'm sorry, where are my manners? I am Oldar Deepdigger, the High Priest here of Ilmater in Fulgrim. I welcome any friends of my brother, Brasswick Feeblehammer. We served as acolytes together in Bardoth, and it has been some time since we've seen each other.
Clearly.
This is Durgan. This is Durgan. You have to meet Durgan first. Durgan, get up here. Get up here.
And Durgan would sort of show this embarrassment because I am or supposed to be, the acolyte for my deity, and right now I look like I've been playing in a baby pool full of troll's blood. And so I think for the first, I'm actually, because it's difficult to embarrass Durgan, but I think that I'm just a different kind of embarrassment. So I'm just like, like if you see someone you know from work, and you're at the store, and you're just in gym shorts, and you just woke up, or like someone you haven't seen in a long time, that's what I'm doing right now. I usually don't look like this.
And he sort of reaches past Brasswick and holds out a calloused big meat hook of a hand, and he reaches forward and takes your hand, Durgan, shakes it, and says, "Stone Rift, yeah?"
Hi, yeah. How did you know?
Well, your armor and also the hammer you're carrying definitely looks stone rifty.
I sort of turn it and it's a pleasure to meet you, and it is an honor to be in the temple of Ilmater. And Durgan would sort of bow, and another chunk would fall out of his hair.
And then he looks to Erdon and he says, "Shade Vale?"
You're good. Yes. Erdon Seroshent. And I extend my hand.
He takes your hand, grips it tight, shakes it. We don't often get elves of Shade Vale here in Fulgrim, but we are known to trade every now and again.
Very good. Yes, of course.
How is your matron? Elmira. Last I saw her, she was quite beautiful.
Well, I have bad news about that. She fought bravely, and she fell. And I kind of looked down. Much has happened in Shade Vale. And, well, that's why we're here.
He sort of lowers himself onto the bench behind him, almost as if like he can't stand up anymore. Dead? No. That's not possible. You must be mistaken.
No, I saw it with my own eyes. But I don't want to get ahead of myself here. We can talk more, perhaps over a meal.
Yes, I will drum up something for you to eat. I assume you'd all like to take a bath.
Aye.
Yes, I will get some hot water, and I will show you where you can stay. The accommodations are not much, but we have several rooms where you can stay. He looks to Dice. Sorry, Oldar Deep Digger. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
And he's kind of looking at the sort of the uniform that you're wearing, Dice, and he says, "Not familiar with your garb."
It's to be honest, more or less, neither am I.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, yes, I will get you some food, rest up, but, we will have to talk. Clearly, I, need to be briefed. So, Oldar sees that you all get food, you're all able to wash up, and he actually provides you with some comfy sort of, they're not quite robes, but they're sort of a loose-fitting tunic and pants if you want to change out of your armor. And I just saw your message, Parker.
Sorry. Okay.
That's just funny. So old RC, and he sends, eventually he sends for you. Alkalites come and get you from the rooms. But you have a moment to speak amongst yourselves if you want to before you meet Oldar.
When can we, Falhast?
Yeah. Soon. Now. As soon as we can. I don't want to be rude. This is Brasswick's childhood friend, but yeah, I mean, I forgot myself. You're right. We need to get moving.
We need to find shelter for my people, and then we, along with, I suppose, the Watchers, can be on our way.
Aye. And there's no rush to that, indeed.
Wait, no rush to what?
It's just it's an expression, man. He needs to find a home for all his people. I mean, everyone's dead. I mean, there's really a rush, but we don't say that to him out loud. But now he knows. So, all right, well, we're in a hurry. It's no secret. Let's just get as much done as we can.
It hurts.
Did you say that through your ring, Durkin?
Oops, I forgot about this.
No, I'm just kidding.
One of those rings. Okay.
It's like a really powerful kazoo.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk. Let's do this.
So the acolytes come and get you and take you to Oldar's chambers, which is just very simple square room. There's a little cot in the corner, and he sort of has set up like a barrel in the center of the room and little stools all around it. And on top of the barrel, he just has a plate with like half of a loaf of bread, like some cheese, some dried meat, and a bottle of red wine, just a big kind of sort of bottle of it. And he welcomes you all into the chamber and asks you to sit down, and he takes his own seat and pours himself like a clay mug of the wine, and then takes a scrap of bread and sort of dips the bread in the wine and starts eating it.
And everyone will notice too, Brasswick kind of walks in more disciplined and like more of like a traditional way, and straight lines, doesn't cut any corners or anything, and you know, along those lines.
So, Brasswick, it is good to see you. I wish it was for a better reason. I wish you brought better news than the death of the ruler of Shade Vale. How did this happen?
They were attacked by orcs when we had got there. Clearly, I mean, you must have heard about what's been going on in the south.
I've heard
Yeah.
rumors of a uprising in the wilds of Gavalt, but something about Aldemir being attacked. I'm sure they've repelled it. We've never had any worries about the savage south.
It's very serious. And we'll have to catch up, and I can explain more. But there's been so much that's happened. Much like you, I had an encounter with Ilmater himself, I believe, and he led me to these three here.
Truly.
Yes. Before I left Bardoth, I knew that these three men were the ones I was going to find.
And this is news to the rest of the Provokers when he says this.
Yeah, I'm just looking around, like wide-eyed, like what?
What now?
They probably remember how I acted like I was everyone's best friend when we first met. Even talking to an elf, much like I would talk to a fellow dwarf.
Mm-hmm.
Dice would probably assume it was just like an expression. I knew I would meet them, someday.
I had visions, and I was told of a great war that was coming. And it led me south. And you know me, I never wanted to leave home. It just had to be.
But the war has already happened, Brasswick. I received a vision of the war, and I came to the south, and I helped stop that war. I helped repel the centaurs. We stopped it.
Not that war. It's a different war. Another war. A greater war. Mine was different. I didn't have the same vision as you.
Why have I received no vision of this? Why has Ilmater not told me?
Ilmater had a purpose for you. And you did it. And you spread the word, and now look at this city. It's become great. All in 10 years. It's just his way.
Yes, I suppose. These, you said the orcs killed Matron Elmira, but they have never been able to muster enough forces, enough strength, to strike at Shade Vale with any sort of effectiveness. I'm not sure how this came about.
They're being led by something much greater. I wish I could tell you more about it, but I don't know that much myself.
And as Brasswick speaks, I was going to say Durgan would take his hammer out, which has the Corruptor's helmet on it. And he would lay it, in a situation where it was able to be seen, maybe on a stool or something like that.
We've had various encounters with him. We've faced him face to face. We can't seem to get the better of him to end this.
Oldar reaches out and kind of runs his hands along the helmet. This is not right. This looks like the helmet of a convoker.
Yes, it is.
How did you come by it? You said you faced him?
Yes. Further in the south, he destroyed a city. It's taken us all the way over to Stone Rift, through Shade Vale, and even to here at your doorstep.
These are dark tidings you bring, Brasswick. Where are the people of Shade Vale now? Do they have a new ruler?
We left them with Mir.
Mir Stonegaze.
Yes.
I don't like him.
He said you would say that.
I'm sure.
Durgan didn't really like him much either, and Dice didn't as well.
He's, off-putting.
I'd say so. A little creepy.
So Mir leads the people of Shade Vale now.
I turn to Erdon, and I say, Erdon, how is that work exactly?
Well, yes, in a way he does, but they're grooming another for leadership. There is
Your
a young
sister.
elf maiden who shows potential. She's my sister.
Oh. Well, clearly, we are out of the loop here in Fulgrim. Which leads me to believe that all of these things are happening very quickly.
They are.
There is urgency in this situation. We have word that Falhast is going to be attacked,
Falhast.
and
So
we must go to
distant
there
city.
next. Yes.
I turn and I say, our friend Dice may have some loved ones there.
Oh. I can see why you have a vested interest in.
You should also have a vested interest
In Falhast.
in the world.
Of course I have a vested interest in the world. I helped repel a horde of centaurs coming out of the Bloodhoof Steppe 10 years ago. I helped save the Western Southlands. Me, along with many others, stood and fought and refused to give in. But right now, I am most concerned for Fulgrim, most concerned for my people.
And that's what I mean. Your war ended, but that's the one commonality that the world has. It's the one thing that doesn't change. It's greed and power and the war that comes from it. And Fulgrim isn't an island. I mean, Fulgrim is a part of this place. There's a huge army marching towards Falhast right now. Do you think it'll stop there? No. The Western South, this entire place, this entire world, everywhere I've been and everywhere I've heard of and everywhere I haven't heard of is in danger.
Calm yourself, Dice. And I kind of reach over and just put my hand on his shoulder.
It's okay, Erdon. He's right.
He is right. And I
Hold
look
on.
at Eldar.
Aldar, he speaks the truth. I mean, this world is in danger, and they're not going to just stop with Falhast. I think maybe you and I should do some catching up, Aldar. I think some long conversations, just you and I think I can make you see the importance of all this.
And Durgan would sort of, he's been listening and kind of taking this all in, and you can see that he certainly started to kind of get out of his chair, rooting for Dice. Like, yeah! But he would plead with Aldar, and he would say, from dwarf to dwarf, there's a man from Stone Rift that you do not know. I will tell you that we visited several rulers with this news, trying to warn them, trying to explain to them. And unless my memory's wrong, everyone we warned did not listen, and may have died.
I had heard that Stoneriff had lost a king recently. I did not know the circumstances. I had no idea that it was connected to this. I'm sorry.
And now Stone Rift stands behind us, and the Watchers of Shade Vale stand behind us. You would not stand alone if you pledged the support of Fulgrim.
I look at Aldar and try to gauge his typical stubbornness to see if he's looking very stubborn.
He's definitely like more stubborn than a typical dwarf even. Very set in his ways, very much like I know what's best. But you see that stubbornness faltering a little bit as Dice and Durgan and Erdon and you are talking to him, and he's sitting there with the mug of wine in his hand and a piece of kind of soggy bread that he's been dipping into the wine. And he just kind of sets both down and stands up, brushing crumbs from his robes. The survivors of Shade Vale may take up residence here in Fulgrim for the time being. We will not turn away those in need. There is room in the district known as Chum Street. If you talk to Constable Uriel, he will lead you there. Brasswick?
Yes.
10 years ago, I asked you to come with me. And you refused. But everything happens for a reason, and you say that Ilmater gave you a vision to come to the south. A decade later. I believe you are here for a purpose, my friend, though I do not see it clearly at this time.
Understandable.
Stay here in the temple, my friend. Stay here for a time, and we shall talk, and we shall pray, and we shall hope that Ilmater gives us some modicum of direction in all of this.
Let me speak with my friends real quick.
Of course.
And I will give you an answer.
Of course.
So I kind of gather everyone in the corner towards the back of the room, and I turn to them. I really look at Durgan right in the eye, and I say, I think he can be useful for us. I may need to stay back and convince him to come, but time is of the essence. And so you guys must go without me.
And Durgan takes pause.
I need to stay here. I know how stubborn he is. I know if anyone can get through to him, it's me. We need him. We need what he has to offer.
But we need you. I'd be dead twice over. So would Dice, so would Erdon. I mean, if the four of us weren't together, I mean, I understand, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but are you sure?
That's why I'm looking you dead in the eye, Durgan. These two need a good dwarf. Go and be the best dwarf you can be.
Aye.
You can't quite be Brasswick, but you can be close.
You know what?
I'd say we've
Damn
done
straight.
just. I'd say we've done just fine with two good dwarves, and I wouldn't mind continuing that way. I don't know why this is necessary.
In your darkest hour, Ilmater will be there.
Dice! I mean, come on, you've always got something to say. What do you think about all this?
I think Brasswick has to do what Brasswick has to do. And I think he's right. And I think that you're right. And I think Erdon's right. And I think we are... Brasswick, if you stay, I mean, like Durgan said, we need you. But, I mean, that's the great thing about what we are, right? Is we're four people, and we have four different stories, and they all just happen to lead us to this one place. And now here you are telling us that you knew this was going to happen all along, or that you saw some vision from Ilmater, and you know what? My dad gave me that book, and he points to your Tome of Ilmater. He gave me that book when I was 9. He didn't believe in Ilmater. I mean, you know, and I mean, I'm just saying I'm less and less inclined to start believing in coincidence. And if you're telling me that you've got to stay here, then you've got to stay here. And he reaches into his satchel and he pulls out a harness. It's like it's a leather harness that's just clumped into this, almost like you would tie a rope together using that same rope, and it's done in that exact same way. And he hands it to you and he says, "But just know that there's a river bear in Talmor for you whenever you need it. And this isn't the last time we're going to see you, Brasswick. We'll be back."
Thank you. Before you guys leave, I have gifts for you. I turn to Aldar and I say, "Hey, where do you keep the tomes of Ilmater at?"
And Oldar is sort of busying himself with cleaning up the plates of food and stuff. He kind of looks around and reaches into his pocket and pulls out one, sets it down, reaches under his bed, pulls out another, and then he opens up a couple drawers, puts a third one down.
Thank you. So I gather them, and I bring them over, and I look at Durgan, and I say, "Keep this with you."
Aye.
And I hand one to Erdan as well, and Dice, and I say, "As long as you guys have these with you, I'm not far."
Tritherian gonna be pissed.
You see a little tear come from Brasswick's eye. Don't worry, guys. I'll see you again. I think.
We better see you again, and I hope it's at the head of an army from Fulgrim.
I want you to have something. And it's something that's probably the most important thing I carry with me. And Durgan digs into his pack. And he pulls out the very last of the barrel of ale that he got from Rorge and Rianne at the Wayward Wanderer. He says, "Save one drink, and we'll have it together when we return." And he hands him the barrel.
Oh, Durgan. You know me well.
I'm not kidding. Don't you drink that without me. I mean, you can have some, but don't get drunk and just drink it. And don't give it away either.
All right. I might need some of this to soften Aldar up, but
Yeah,
I'll save us a drink.
aye. I'm counting on it. And you're sure?
No doubt in my mind.
Aye. Well, I trust you. And I might actually thumb through this. And he takes the Tome of Ilmater and he puts it in his pack.
It's a good idea. All right, and then Brasswick kind of walks back over to Aldar and says, "I will stay, but only for a little bit. I will tell you all about what has happened."
Good. I'm glad. And, you, and he looks to the other Provokers, see Uriel and see that the refugees from Shade Vale are set up on Chum Street.
Thank you.
And Oldar kind of claps Brasswick on the back and says, "It'll be just like old times. Skipping morning prayer to go picking mushrooms and all sorts of shenanigans, I'm sure."
I'm sure. I don't know about skipping morning prayer. I've changed quite a bit, but we'll have some great times, I'm sure.
Of course. And with that, Brasswick will stay in the Temple of Ilmater in Fulgrim For 2 sessions. Don't worry, Brasswick will be back.
Before, there's one thing I forgot, and that is I would take out this ring, and this is a ring that had 3 little stones in it.
Yep.
That we got at the Wayward Wanderer. We've used one of those.
2.
But 2.
There's one at the bottom of the well at the Wayward Wanderer, and there's one in
Shade
Stone
Vale.
Rift.
Stone Rift. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I would say Brasswick, and I give him the ring, and I take the last pebble out, and I say, if you need to get to us quickly, and if your legs aren't quick enough.
What's that mean? Is that a short joke?
It was.
Nice.
Brasswick's going to show up in Erdon's pocket. He's going to pop up right in the pocket.
Keen Rod's gonna be in there.
with an audiog. Just
He's like,
Yeah.
bad connection. I'm sorry, I was trying to call someone else. This is so embarrassing.
We're going to get a long pole, and we're going to put the pebble right in the middle, and we're going to carry it on our shoulders.
There you go. All right, everyone, please take a point of inspiration for the awesome role play.
Awesome.
And Juice, buddy, we will miss you for the next 2 sessions, but
I will be back.
But yeah, you're gonna be back, man.
And just a quick thing, just so everyone knows, I'm in the process of moving across state, so that's why for the next 2 months I will probably be unavailable to play. So, but I will be back.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that we found a way that was not super hackneyed to have Brasswick do something productive while the Provokers are gallivanting around doing things. So
Right. Yeah, and so it's because Sunday nights are our game nights. I wake up at 4 in the morning on Mondays to drive 2 hours. So yes.
yeah, so you need to go to bed, Juice. So.
I do. I have to pack first. I haven't packed today. I was doing laundry. And, yeah, now I got to pack.
All right, buddy.
So. Bye, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Awesome session, man. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, the session is not over.
You guys are still playing.
You guys are still playing.
You're not off the hook yet, Carney. Come on.
Tim's like, cool, night.
I was like, I was already loading up Netflix in another tab. No. No. But seriously, Juice, before you leave, though, man, that was awesome, and we are going to miss you for 2 sessions. I just want to let you know that
Oh, yeah, dude.
it's going to be super different, and I love that we actually role-played it out like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll watch them.
We're just going to be the Rovokers.
The
Rowboaters, the rowboaters.
Rowboaters. Yeah, I like it.
So, take it easy, guys.
All right. See you,
Go
Juice.
get
See
some.
you, Juice.
Yeah, go get some.
Go get some.
Later.
All right. This is going to be weird.
This already feels weird.
I know,
Like,
because
waiting
it
for it to
feels
come
weird,
back.
man. Oh,
Oh,
God.
Juice dropped. Hold on.
Juice just dropped.
I was getting a little bit verklempt in that scene, dude.
I was too, man.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Brasswick decides to stay in the temple with his friend Oldar, and they both see you out of the temple, and you see that the wooden rack sitting there with the men sort of hanging on it in the sun, sweat just pouring down them. And Oldar told you that if you went and found Uriel, he could sort of set up bringing in the refugees into Fulgrim.
So Uriel was the captain of the guard.
Yeah, he was the halfling that met you at the gates, the constable.
Okay. So yeah, I guess we would go off and well, should we go back? Yeah, I guess we would go. Erdon would probably want to go see him and make sure everything is square before we bring in this. What did you say, about 350 or something?
Yeah, it's about 300 elves from Shade Vale, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Including a bunch of like armed and armored watchers.
Yeah. So I guess we would want to ask about that too.
Yeah.
And just ask, we've got a militia here.
Yeah. So you go back to the gatehouse And Uriel is standing there with his dog Argus, and he looks back and says, "Leaving so soon?"
Not quite. We were told that you could help us find lodgings temporarily for some elven refugees. There are 300.
Oh. Yeah, I suppose.
They're skinny.
They are at that. What did Oldar say exactly?
He said that you could help us and that they would be settled in the what was the name of the district again?
Chum Street.
Chum Street.
Oh, Chum
Sounds
Street.
really wonderful.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. It's not the most comfortable area of the town, and it smells a little fishy. But there is quite a bit of space. I guess bring them through the gates. We'll get them set up as much as possible. I'll need to make a few announcements to let people know what's happening, and that's just well, it was a slow day, but now it's not anymore.
What's a good tavern? And Dice looks at Durgan, in the Chum Street area.
There's the Sunken Dock. That's the one that all the guards go to. That's down in Chum Street.
Sounds like
Because this is the first time in months, and he looks at Erdon, that I've ever had any money. And so I think while you're getting things squared away, Erdon, of course, if you need our help, no problem. But while you're bringing your people in, maybe we can go get the tavern ready and take a bath.
The bath. Now, that I can get behind. Yes.
I need another bath.
Save me a spot at the bar.
You will have a spot at the bar.
So
I would guess I should talk to Uriel about the Watchers too, and just say, so many of these elves will be here only temporarily. We plan to move on. There's fighting to be done. We've fled war, and we go to more. So, is that okay? We have some Watchers from the Shade Vale. They're armed. They'll keep their weapons away and behave themselves.
And this halfling constable, who's probably like the most exciting part of his day, is like rounding up the town drunks and letting them sleep it off in the cell, is kind of just like, yes, just tell them to not brandish their weapons, no causing any trouble. Yes, that should be fine. Yes,
they're very disciplined, I assure you. Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
Very well. So Erdon's going to go with Uriel and grab the refugees from Tellin's Hillock, bring them down, and then Durgan and Dice are going to go down to the Sunken Dock.
Yes.
So yes.
Okay.
We've got 1/4 of 500 gold each.
All right. So if you ask around, people happily point you in the direction of Chum Street. It's down towards the lake, and it's sort of like right on the lake, and actually extends out onto the lake. And there's all these sort of squat buildings, and eventually you find your way to the Sunken Dock, which is actually, the dock is sort of, it really is a sunken dock. Like, it's a dock that's starting to like go into the water. So as you're walking across the dock, like, you're kind of sloshing through the lake water, and there's this kind of dilapidated building at the end of the dock, and you hear music coming from it. And there's a little like foaming tankard, like a wooden sign, just kind of hanging from it.
Excellent.
After you.
I don't mind if I do. And we'll go in there. And what are the surroundings like? What's the music like? How many people are in there? And are there 3 spots at the bar?
So as you go in, you see that there's a man in the corner, kind of playing a fiddle, just playing sort of, quiet, reserved music. It's not super energetic. It's just sort of quiet in the background, and you see that there's a female halfling behind the bar, sort of a stouter halfling woman who's pouring foaming ale on a tap, and she sort of looks up as the door creaks open, and you see the tavern is sort of like, as the waves are coming in, the tavern's kind of like lilting kind of back and forth, almost like it's floating a little bit on the water. And she's like a pro at this. Like, as the tavern lilts, she kind of like anticipates it and like tilts the mug a little bit more so that she doesn't get too much of a head, going in the ale. And then she kind of sets them on the bar, and as the tavern lilts again, the tankards kind of slide down the bar to the people that need them, and you see some stools are free at the bar.
Great. Dice would immediately move toward the bar, confident that Durgan's walking behind him, and he'd pull up a seat where there are 3 allotted stools, and put a large book or something. Maybe there's something on. Maybe there's a large book on the bar, and he'll put it on the stool for Durgan.
And I know the drill. I'm just like, oh, thanks, and I sit on the book. That's just the way it goes.
Dice actually uses his Tome of Ilmater that Brasswick gave him.
And I'm like, oh, already putting this to good use. Don't mind if I do.
As you sit at the bar, the halfling woman, who is clearly like on some sort of raised part because she's taller than she should be, kind of sidles up and says, "All right, what can I get you?"
Durgan would look at Dice like, yeah, go ahead.
4 ales.
4? Starting out with 2 apiece already.
One's for our friend who's coming later, and the other's just, for our friend.
Uh-huh. And she kind of nods like, yeah, I've heard that one. And she fills up 4 of them, and she says, that will be a silver piece for the 4 of them.
And Dice would look at Durgan, who's got all the cash.
And I would go, and I would put probably just because, I would put a gold piece on the counter and slide it over, and I'd say, keep them coming, my lady.
Her eyes kind of widen when you put a gold piece on the table. Like, she's used to serving fishermen who pay with coppers. Like, she asks for a silver and they give her 10 coppers, And so she sees a gold slide across the bar, and her eyes kind of widen, and she says, "Aye, you've got it." And she tucks it into her, super like tavern wench style, tucks it into her bodice, and goes, and if you ever drain a tankard, she has another one sliding down to you almost immediately.
And Dice would look to Durgan to give a toast before the drink.
Aye. May our dwarven friend, who worships a pretty good god and is almost as good as me, find whatever he needs in this city that smells like fish.
And you hold your mug up, and Dice is just freaking asleep on the bar after the long day of fighting, and he's just found his place to sit, and he's just already drooling on the bar as his perfectly filled mug of ale is sitting right in front of him, and he snores.
And as Durgan's just sipping one, he's not gulping it, he's just sipping one without even looking. He reaches his hand over and slides Dice's in front of him.
Oh, that's perfect.
And depending on how much we've had to drink and depending on, how long we spend there, at some point, what you'd see is a very wanting to be inebriated and relaxed Durgan. And I have placed my hammer at the far end of the bar. Now, I imagine it's heavy enough that it doesn't slide, with the lilting of the tavern. But you just see, I'm sitting there with a mug of ale, and I set it aside, and I'm just going.
trying to get that damn thing to come back.
And he's just trying, and every once in a while it might just grind a little by the lilting of the time. I go, oh, I did it. Oh. And so that's what Durgan is trying to spend his afternoon doing, is getting drunk and trying to make Flying Storm's Reach come back to him.
Awesome.
So it flies through the shambling structure, just.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, it's going to take more than one gold piece to pay for these repairs, buddy. So, Erdon, you have gone back to your people who are... when you get back to them, a lot of them are kind of sitting on blankets and stuff, sort of passing water skins back and forth. And you see Mirrors kind of standing on top of the hill. And as he sees you coming, he sort of waves with his arm that isn't in a sling. And as you approach, he says... He sees that you're with Uriel, and he says... Is everything in order?
Aye, there's a place for us. They're offering us a place to stay.
Good. We don't need much, and we certainly don't want to stay for long.
Right.
But we need to keep our people safe. And he will kind of look down at Uriel and say, "Thank you, Constable." And Uriel's kind of looking like at the hundreds of elves that are just like camped out here on the hill, just like, what the hell? And he kind of pats Argus a little bit and says, "All right, well, yep, let's get him into town, I guess." And he's kind of just like rubbing his temples, and he's just like, can't turn people away. That's one of Ilmater's tenets. Cannot turn people away. All right, let's go. And he starts moving towards the town. Mir gives the order, and everyone starts packing up their stuff. And Larawise comes up to you, Erdon, and she kind of just kind of sidles up to you and leans against you like she's tired, just leaning her weight against you. And she says, "Where are we going now, Erdon?"
They found a place for us to stay, and I would kind of put my arm around her as we walk, and it won't be the most comfortable accommodations, but
I'm sure it'll be better than the troll tunnels.
Exactly.
So you head into town, you lead the refugees through the town, and it's just a column of elves. And there's the watchers who have their cloaks kind of up, and they're carrying their bows, and they have their swords, and they're just kind of keeping watch out. And everyone, is doing the stereotypical, like, shutters open, like, looking out the window, like, what the hell? As the elves are walking down the street, people are sort of stopping, almost like it's a parade, just sort of standing on the sidelines, like, watching the elves walk past. They've never seen this number of elves in the town. They may have seen a few coming here and there for the different trade that's happening, but they've never seen this many elves of Shade Vale. And so Uriel and his dog Argus lead you to that same area that Dice and Durgan are in, and he leads you to kind of this really dilapidated portion of Chum Street. And there's all these kind of empty hovels, and some of them are kind of sinking into the lake, and others are kind of like have holes in the ceilings and holes in the walls and doors kind of hanging off. And he says, "Right, so this is Chum Street. Back during the Bloodhoof Blitz, this portion of the town was taken over by centaurs. We haven't really got around to repairing it, and we haven't really needed the space, but you're free to use it as you need it."
Well, thank you.
Of course, you're welcome.
Yeah, I guess I would kind of say Mir. All right, I guess we'll have to kind of spread out here and find what we can. Do people have food? Water?
We have some. I was planning on sending a squad of watchers out at dawn to do some hunting out on the plains. They should be back in a few days with enough food. We'll persist until then.
Okay. There should be fish to buy here, too, if you can come by any coin, but...
We have some, yes.
Okay.
We'll manage.
Good. I turn to Larawise and I say, I I'll catch up with you later tonight. I need to check in on my friends and make sure we are ready to continue our fight.
She nods and says, "Of course, I'll get a place set up for you and your friends if you want."
Good, yes. And I kind of would probably maybe turn to some of the other elves around and say, would you help her out here? Make sure, and Tamir, make sure she's taken care of and is comfortable.
They all nod. Mir says, "Of course, go do what you need to do."
All right. And I would set off to the tavern, the sinking dock?
Yeah, Sunken Dock.
There you go.
So it's easy to find because it's namesake. And you arrive there. You open up the door and you see Dice passed out on the counter, and you see Durgan sitting there, and there's the hammer is like 2 stools away from him, and he's just holding his hand out, just kind of swaying as the tavern's lilting back and forth.
I would just kind of walk up like, what's going on here, Durgan?
Have you ever been somewhere, whether it's at a baseball game or anywhere where they serve alcohol, and you leave for a little while, and then you come back, and all of a sudden one of your friends is blitzed? And you're just like, how did that happen so fast? 1, and 2, why are you doing this alone? That's sort of the thing. I'm way more inebriated than I've ever allowed myself to be around the Provokers, so I'm just like...
Yeah. And how much did he drink? I would point to Dice.
Oh, Dice? He's not a drop. Maybe a sip? We toasted Brasswick, and then he fell asleep. Lightweight.
All right. Well, at least I don't have to carry him back then. He should be able to wake up just fine.
He better. And then I have been, as Erdon walked in at least, I had the sense and presence of mind as a dwarven drinker to order a fresh ale for him. And I sort of...
Yeah, and in fact, as he sits down, the barkeep, who you've learned through conversing with her name is Brine, she says, "Is he with you?"
Aye, and the gold covers him as well. And let us know if you need any more.
She pours you a foaming tankard of ale, and you see again, Erdon, you see the same masterful pouring that Dice and Durgan have experienced, where as the tavern lilts, he just adjusts the angle of the mug just so, and then lets it slide down the bar towards you.
All right, and I take it and take a big swig and say, "To Dice," and I'm imagining that that Dice is between us.
Yeah.
And we toast, and it splashes on him.
And Dice will move like a...
So eventually the light fades, and you guys are sitting there for a few hours and probably talking about the events of the last few days. It's the first time in days. I mean, you left Shade Vale to go talk to the trolls, came back, fought all those orcs, went into the troll tunnels. I mean, you've been up for days and maybe taken a couple of power naps in between there. But yeah, I mean, you're just exhausted beyond all reason and belief. And the light fades as the hours go by. And eventually a bunch of people start coming into the tavern, and you realize it's they smell of fish. And it's the fishermen coming in from, after the day's catch, they're coming in to, drink away the wear and tear of the day. And they start filling up the seats. And one of them, sort of draped in a cloak, he's sort of an older man, like a middle-aged human man with a beard, graying hair, but these really striking blue eyes, like almost like ice cold eyes. And he kind of walks in, and he's like, and he's kind of scratching at his chest, and he kind of leans against the bar and says, "I'll have an ale, Brian. Make it 2, please." And she says, "Of course, Em. Tough day on the lake." Yes, my boat sprung a leak, I'm afraid. I spent most of the day landlocked. But I got the leak packed, so I should be good to go out tomorrow. And she slides him 2 ales, and he moves the cloak aside, and you see that he's missing his left arm. And he reaches out with his right arm and takes the tankard, and just takes a swig and sort of sits on the stool. And he looks over at Durgan and just kind of up nods.
Aye.
And he's drinking the ale, and he looks down at your hand, Durgan. And he just kind of gets this face, and he sets the mug down. That's an odd sort of ring.
Aye. You would not believe the story of where it came from either. That's even odder.
I'd very much like to hear that, actually.
What now?
Yes, I think right now. And he kind of shoves himself back from the bar, leaves a silver piece on the counter. He leans forward to you, Durgan. He says, "You need to come with me right now."
And you see Durgan sort of sobers up, you know, wanting to be more drunk, but certainly. Can I do some sort of
Insight check?
Insight, perception. I was trying to think of the word. I know I'm terrible at it. But...
Give me an insight.
Can I make an attack roll at his...
Can I grab his no arm?
I'm going to attack the cripple.
I'm going to grab his nub.
You roll to wake up.
Yeah. So it's an 18 without modification, and I don't have any sort of, proficiency.
He seems very serious. Like, when he walked in, like, he just seemed like, coming in from a hard day at work, and as soon as he saw the ring, he just, like, took on an entirely different countenance, set the tankard down, just looked you straight in the eye. I mean, this guy is dead serious.
Right, okay. So, I look at Erdan, I'm like, I can't explain why, but I think we should go.
Yeah, and I would look at this man and I would say, he's not going alone, but we'll go with you.
Yes, that's fine. Bring whoever you want.
Without looking back, I elbow Dice. Not too hard, but just that, like, place my elbow on him and then nudge lightly a couple times, like, hey, wake up. Aye, Dice.
Dice will wake up. He'll wake up. And he's
Good.
just got this drool stain on the bar. It's just kind of seeped into the wood, a little bit into the splinters. And he'll be like, "What? What are we? What now? What?"
We're taking a little walk.
Aye. Just follow us.
Oh, good, yeah. There's a walk is good. Let's go. Wait, what?
Sorry, that got me in real life. IRL.
This fake yawning.
Yeah. And then he goes, wait, what? That is so the real response of a sleepy person. You agree to everything as you're waking up, and then it hits you, you're like, I'm going to mow what?
What's happening? Yeah. Why am I awake right now?
Yeah. So Durgan would politely, sort of, not really hiding it, but trying not to show his money in a bar full of fishermen, sort of palm a gold coin and make sure that Brian gets it. Just go, thank you very much for all your help, young lady. And gives her another gold coin for herself as a tip, and then, we sort of follow this steely, blue-eyed man.
And she says, come back anytime, and collects the coins and, tucks them away. And this man, who Brian called M, just kind of pulls his cloak back over his body so you can't see his missing arm anymore, and walks out of just really quickly, like he's just almost running out of the tavern. And as you're like kind of stumbling out, half drunk, he's like, come on. And he closes the door behind you, and he leads you through the docks, and he doesn't really say anything to you, but he's leading you, kind of through the winding docks, and eventually he takes you to a ladder, and he starts climbing down the ladder. and he's like going with one arm, just kind of, he like gets a rung and then lets go and catches the next run, lets go, catches the next run, like climbs down the ladder with one arm like he does it every day.
Durgan would follow as best as possible, but he is not a dexterous dwarf.
Who is this guy?
I don't know, but he recognized the Convoker ring. And I trust him. I don't know why.
Oh, that seems like a logical reason.
Yeah, sorry we had to wake you up.
Trust him? I don't know about that, but we need to hear what he has to say.
Aye.
So down, when you go down the ladder, you see that there's a little rowboat down there. And then next to the rowboat, there's like a little shack built under the dock. And as you get down, you see that the dock has a ton of like little shacks kind of built underneath it, sort of almost in the water. And he opens up the door and goes into this little shack, just, you know, tiny little, like one room. It's got a cot and, you know, a little shelf in there, and that's about it. And he goes in, and he has his one arm, and he's like rubbing his face, and as soon as you come in, he's like, shut the door, shut the door.
I
All right,
shut the door.
You need to tell me how you came by that ring.
I would look at the other two like they'd be able to tell it better. Like, it's, you know, it was a lot of things. I mean, you guys, I mean, you go on.
Dice is clutching his staff like it's an assault rifle. I mean, not really, but, you know, like really looking at like it's a weapon, and he's just prepared for anything right now. He's just fully awake, fully lucid, so he doesn't answer.
Well, and I would proceed to tell him an abbreviated version of how we came upon this ring and how we got it from Migrog, and I would be careful not to give him every detail. I would leave some of the details general but truthful. And so no misinformation, but, you know, and then just explain to him that now it rests on my finger, and that is where we are today.
And he's just looking at you, just like holding his head with his one hand, listening to the whole thing, and he says nothing as you recount the whole tale. And as you finish, he's just like,
well, and as he's drawing all of that in, and all of this is washing over him, the final thing I show him is Storm's Reach, and I show him the Corruptor's helmet on it. And I sort of hold it up to him, not with a hand to strike, but almost cradling it so that he's looking in the dead eyes of the hollow mask.
and his eyes just go wide. Oh. And I thought, my boat springing a leak would be the worst thing that happened to me today. You've told me everything. I suppose I should be frank with you. And he moves to his bed and he reaches under the bed. And he pulls out this kind of case. And he puts it on the bed. Undoes the latches and opens it up with his good arm. And he reaches in and he pulls out a helmet. And it's like a mirror image of the helmet that is on Storm's Reach. But it's not tarnished and rusted and covered in blood like that one. And he just holds it up. Do I need to spell it out for you, or is this clear?
Aye, it's clear.
It's clear, but why don't you wear it anymore?
How are you a fisherman?
I don't wear the helmet anymore for the same reason that I don't wear that ring anymore. I'm not saying a ring like that. I'm saying that ring. You're wearing my ring.
This is your ring.
Yes, it is. And before you offer it, no, I don't want it back. So you'll excuse me if I'm a little bit off-put seeing that ring and that helmet when I have gone so long without seeing those things.
Why is the helmet in a case that's obviously not been opened in some time?
At one point, I was a member of the Convocation. Warden First Class Emery Shersteel of the Convocation of Eras. Born in Krieg, served as a convoker during the War of the Broken North, and I'm not anymore. Haven't been for a long time, over a decade.
And so my friend here brought a ring, and that's terrible? That's bad?
It means... You said you found it on a giant.
Aye.
It means the man who took that ring from me gave it to a giant. That's troubling. That's not... It's not good for me to hear.
Wait, you know the man? You know the corruptor? The one we call the corruptor?
Yes, I know him. I don't know him as the corruptor. I know him as Arendelle. We served together for years. We were friends. We were brothers. We served side by side, felled giants, killed a dragon once together. And we served together in the War of the Broken North.
Well, your brother's an asshole now.
I know. Believe me, I know probably better than anyone.
He took your arm.
Yes, he did. He did take my arm. I tried to stop him 13, 14 years ago. And I don't think he knows I'm alive.
Well, know this. We aim to kill your brother. This helm, we got it off of him in battle. And if I had my way, we would march right now to wherever he was, and I would take this helmet and I would put it back on his face with my hammer.
And Emery is just kind of nodding along, just like, yep, that's all well and good. And he says, no one agrees with you more than me. Believe me, I understand the need for him to die. I tried to kill him. I tried. But you have to understand that Arendelle is not just Arendelle anymore. Something happened. Something happened in the Gavalt Wilds. And he's something else now. He's not the same Arendelle Dawnbringer that I knew. Not the same hero who slayed dragons, who undid tyrants, who served valiantly and loyally, and who saved my life more than a dozen times. That's not Arendelle anymore. You're going up against something much greater than one man, much greater than a convoker. When I tried to stop him, he cut my arm from my body. He fatally wounded my griffin. And if it wasn't for my griffin putting herself underneath me as we fell thousands of feet, I would be dead too. And as he's talking, he reaches under the bed and he pulls out another case and opens it up and pulls out a bottle. And the bottle is just caked with dust. And he pops the cork on it and pours himself something and just like downs an entire cup of it, sets it down. I assume you have questions. You say you fought Arendelle twice now and survived somehow. You must be great warriors. But, as I said, he is not just a mere man.
We have plenty of questions. Yes, we did fight the corrupt Arendelle.
Don't call him that. He's a corruptor.
If it makes it easier for you to give him a title like that, then do so. That's what the savages in the South called him before he was even the corruptor. It's not a name he chose.
What happened to him among the Gavalt?
Well, you're all familiar with the War of the Broken North.
Aye.
Very.
Probably the most catastrophic conflict Aeronoth has seen since the fall of Kazran. Well, the Convocation took a neutral stance. We tried not to intervene in the wars between kingdoms. Wars have always decided territory. They've always decided the power structure of Aeronoth, and so we decided not to intervene. But when the Karn Confederacy decided to start slaughtering people by the thousands and decided that the North was theirs and theirs alone, we had to intervene. The Synod voted, and the vote was clear. We had to step in and stop. Arendelle and I had worked together on many different missions. I was a warden. He was a I just forgot the fucking name. Oh God! Hang on one second.
It's been a long day. So, and you got one arm. You're a fisherman. Like, I don't blame you for being forgetful. I just slept for like 3 hours in the bar, so I was like, at first I was like, God, this guy's really getting emotional over this guy's title.
He's really out of it.
Admiral Buttface.
Admiral Buttface, exactly. No, but he says, I was a warden, and Arendelle was an envoy. We often worked together. Arendelle was good with people. He was good at talking. He was good at negotiating. And when all else failed, I was good with a sword. So that sort of worked for us. We were called in to intervene in the War of the Broken North, and we started winning, started pushing the Confederation back, retaking territory that had been lost. Kingdoms like Talmor and Krieg, they were thankful for our intervention. We saved many lives. As we pushed the Confederation back through the Alpha Forest, the Synod sent us new orders that we were to make sure that the Confederation didn't regroup and attack again. They told us to make the victory more decisive. They told us to burn the forest down. So we did. It was not our place to question orders. I'll never forget that smell. As the Confederation retreated through the forest that was burning around them, we had a bird's eye view on Griffinback. broke Arendelle. He was never the same after that. He was troubled. He said he was having nightmares, that what we had done was wrong, and that it needed to be righted, that we shouldn't be pawns any longer in the war between kings, that Arenoth was not theirs to play with. Arendelle left. He said that he needed to go to the south, that he felt something pulling him, and that he would find answers there. And I went after him. I knew that he was not in the right place. I knew that he was troubled. And so I followed. I went with him. And we went to the south, to the far south, as far as south goes, into the Gavalt Wilds. We were there for a long time, years, searching, treating with the various tribes. They kept telling us that they were waiting. That they were waiting for someone. That the seers had seen a figure who would appear on the horizon and lead them in a glorious crusade to retake the lands that were taken from them. They called this person the Corruptor. Arendelle became obsessed. He needed to know who this Corruptor was. He needed to find out who this glorious figure was that was going to lead these savages in a glorious crusade. We needed to stop him. In the deepest, darkest parts of the wilds, we found a temple. Older than Kazran, older than just tens of thousands of years old, still standing. There was something waiting for us there. I'm still not quite sure what it was. It was a presence, a voice. It spoke to us, showed us things, dragons, killing great elemental beings. There was a woman with white skin and black eyes. This presence wanted us. It wanted to be let in. And Arendelle thought he could control it. He thought that this would give him the power he needed to do away with the wars that took people away, he thought he could take Arenoth back, stop all the bloodshed and all the fire, and maybe, just maybe, have a century where there wasn't a war. So he let it in. I tried to stop him, but he let it in. And as the days and the weeks went by, there was less and less of Arendelle. And more of something else. And that's when I lost my arm, when I tried to stop him, when he started talking about burning the countryside and uniting the tribes and telling me that Arenoth did not belong to anyone, that he would ensure that it belonged to no one. I tried to stop him. He lopped off my arm, killed my griffin, and I limped. I limped out of the wilds, and I found myself in Fulgrim. And here I have been. Here I have been, undisturbed until today.
Well, I'm very glad we could disturb you. This has been helpful for us, even if it's been painful for you.
How do we stop him? I mean, he's doing everything he said he was going to do. He's burning the countryside. He's moving to Falhast with an army. I mean, and Dice looks at Aridon. I don't even think the elves and Durgan or the dwarves together can stop him. What can we do?
The power that Arendelle carries is older than anything. It's older and more vile than anything I've ever encountered. Whatever it is inside of him, it's guiding him past Falhast. He mentioned... It's been so long, but I remember him mentioning that there was a way beyond Falhast that he could ensure that Aranoth would never fall to the whims of petty kings ever again. That if he could lead the savages of Gavalt into the heart of Old Kazrin, that he could bring about a new age, burn away the corruption of the world.
And as you're speaking... Oh, go ahead.
So, I don't know how we stop him. I don't, but maybe we can stop that from happening. I don't know.
And if you'll let me, Matt, this is from way back when we were fighting the Corruptor. And Durgan tried to grab his sword, and it bolted up his arm, and it was just this blackness. And having his helmet right there and talking about this great old evil and just evoking its namesake here, even in spirit. Just as you're speaking, I feel like it would just be these jolts. And it's almost like as this man is speaking to us, I can just feel this evil, vile, just sort of still in there. Just the helmet and the me touching it, and just this like, and I'm just seeing these flashes, and Durgan has a certainty that he hasn't before. Before he's been washed up and caught up in this, and it's been something that's needing to happen, and we need to save these people, but Tritherion within him is now violently oppressing this corruptor and this force. And now Durgan understands that there is a greater, more powerful, tangible evil behind this. And now, if you'll let me, I am going to change my oath of vengeance to being that I will not stop, I will not cease until the corruptor has fallen and his blood is upon my hammer.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Dice will say, no, he is just the man. And I think that's good news. Because he's still made of meat. And his staff just frosts over again. I think it's time we freeze it.
Aye.
Yes, he is just a man. But I don't think killing Arendelle will end the things that are already set in motion. I've actively tried to avoid thinking about this for the last decade, so I'm sorry that I can't say, yes, I've spent every waking moment of the last 10 years dividing a perfect plan to defeat Arendelle. But you three, and you mentioned that there was a fourth as well.
Aye.
You... Provokers, did you call yourselves?
That's what people call us.
You Provokers. It's clever, by the way. Rhymes with convoker. I like it. You Provokers have done already what I could not. How can I help?
we could use your advice. I mean, you have knowledge that no one we've met has. If you would at least ride with our forces, or, I mean, I don't expect you to fight, but we could use you close at hand.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm not very good in a fight anymore, but I will lend you any knowledge I have. Now, you mentioned that there are orcs marching this way.
Aye.
I imagine that Oldar didn't take much action in that regard.
Aye.
He thinks himself invincible since he repelled the centaurs during the Bloodhoof Blitz. What he fails to mention is that it wasn't just Fulgrim, it was every settlement in Gwynterod that banded together to repel Temur the Undaunted and his centaurs. But we have to deal with that first. We can't just let Fulgrim fall under their swords, as Shade Vale has.
Agreed.
That's right.
Well, I have an idea. I don't think you're going to like it, but I think it's one of the only options we have.
Go on.
Do tell.
Well, and he kind of like takes the bottle, sets it on the floor, takes his helmet, sets it on the floor, takes a fishing pole, sets it on the floor. Imagine the fishing pole here on the right is Fulgrim. And imagine this bottle here is the orc army moving towards Fulgrim. Now, this helmet over here, well, this is Temur the Undaunted, the chieftain of the centaurs of Bloodhoof Steppe. And he kind of takes the helmet and just moves it to the bottle and knocks the bottle over.
Aye. An army fighting an army.
We can goad the centaurs into fighting the orcs. We might stand a chance.
That's brilliant.
Well-
We might have enough forces to stop him from taking Falhast.
Don't expect the centaurs to ride to Falhast on your aid, but we might stop this orc warband from joining with the Corruptor's army.
Aye.
That would be good.
Now the question is, do we let them know? Or do we coerce them into it? From what I hear, these centaurs have quite the temper. What if they were to think these orcs were riding against them, and we never had to knowingly intervene? That way there's no treaties broken in Fulgrim.
In truth, they are riding against the centaurs, right? I mean, they're riding against everybody.
Agreed.
If what you say is true about Arendelle, I imagine he's already tried treating with the centaurs. And the only reason why the centaurs aren't galloping over us right now is because they refused.
Aye.
Probably out of
That's a
the
good
kindness
point.
of their hearts, right?
Well, if you find any kindness in the heart of a centaur, you be sure and let me know.
It's a great plan, but are there others? I mean, you're a Convoker, and Erend, the Corruptor. But are there others hidden? Can we gather them together? We need the forces of any good. Can we have a new convocation?
I'm afraid that following the War of the Broken North, the Convokers have been absent. Us burning down Alfheim did not exactly win us any popularity with Aranoth. The Synod has taken a backseat, if you will. The fact that they haven't sent Convokers down to stop Arendelle is, well, it's not surprising, but it's also indicative that we're probably not going to get much help. I've been told that there may be a convoker in Aldemir, but I can't be sure.
Aye, so we are the cavalry, is what you're telling me.
Yes, you and a one-armed former convoker. Yep.
Yeah, we've had worse odds.
So you tell me. Well, we'll need to move quickly if we hope to reach the centaurs in time to have them flank the orc army. Now, and he kind of stops talking. Oh, and he holds up a finger. And Erdon, you hear it too. You hear creaking on the dock above the shack.
And I would kind of actually draw my sword, like out of its, not all the way, but just like, and look at Dice and Durgan, like, shh.
And you see Emery kind of draws a dagger with his good hand, and he's holding it kind of reverse grip. And he kind of like backs up against the wall, looking up. And there's a moment of heavy silence. And then the room just explodes around you. The windows shatter, and sound just explodes in your head. You all are just rocked back, hitting the walls as the shack just pretty much shatters around you. And you're laying there, blood flowing from your ears, ringing, just overtaking you. And you see the door swing open, and you see a gigantic, barbaric man, bare-chested, holding an axe. And he's standing in the doorway, and you see there are men behind him. And this man opens his mouth like he's unhinging his jaw, and you hear him start to scream. And that's where we'll end tonight's session.
Whoa. Awesome.
Wow.
Dude, that was
great.
Oh, man.
the Corruptor backstory, dude. Getting me so good. That was awesome.
So cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've been
What a
waiting
story.
12 damn sessions for that.
That was
Yeah.
So good, man.
Man. Just crazy.
That was a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah, that
That
was a
was.
lot of fun.
You guys totally caught me off guard with the tavern thing. I was like, did not
You
prep
you
for
played
this.
it off really well, because
Thank
you
you.
were like, you super did. You were like, it's the sunken dock. And I was like, I've worked with Matt on a few supplements. He just made that up, and he nailed it.
Right
Yep.
out of his sunken dock.
Yeah, I pulled that right out of my sunken dock, dude.
That was impressive.
I was.
Everyone in the chat is freaking out about the Hell Screamers being back.
Yeah, dude, Hell Screamers,
Yeah.
man.
Yep.
Doing it big.
Oh, that was so good.
Oh, man.
So
Sweet.
it feels weird without Juice here, man. Though I gotta
It does.
say.
I feel like we're waiting to start.
I know. Yeah, but it'll, he'll be able to take a couple sessions, a couple months here, and get his stuff in order, and then, and who knows, if we're even gonna be able to meet twice in the time that he's gonna be gone. We'll have to see how everyone's schedules work out, but
Sure. Some holidays, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping to get a session in December, so we'll have to see, but
Absolutely.
but yeah, that was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you everyone for watching. The chat was just alive with activity.
Very much so.
Yeah, I was kind of watching it out of the corner of my eye. So, yeah, and I think we had about 70-something viewers at the height of the session. So that's great. Thank you,
74, man. Yeah.
74. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you everyone who tuned in. I love running this game. I love running this campaign. I love gaming with these guys, and the fact that people watch us do that is just it's icing on the cake, man. It's the cherry on the sundae. So I'm gonna throw it over to these guys to do their sign-offs here. Let's start with Barker.
Hi, I'm Barker. I run the channel Be a Better Game Master, and I play the character, the Wizard Half-Elf of Dice. I'm 1/4 of Absolute Tabletop. And for the next 39 minutes, the Horror at Misty Meadows supplement that we just released on AbsoluteTabletop.com is pay what you want for 39 more minutes. So you can get it for free if you want. So head on over there for free stuff.
Absolutely. All right, Nate.
Yeah, my name is Nate from WASD20 on YouTube and WASD20.net, and I played Erdon Saroshent, the Wood Elf Fighter. And as someone who is not a part of Absolute Tabletop, I can therefore unbiasedly say that their new supplement is awesome. And yeah, I got to see part of Tim running it yesterday, and he and the players rocked it.
Yeah, Tim killed it on that session yesterday, man. I mean, I helped write the supplement, and I was watching it like, what's gonna happen next? I'm like, I know what's gonna happen next, but I don't really know what's gonna happen next.
And there were a lot of great players. And
the players killed it. Yeah.
And I'm just gonna throw out a name here: stereotypical Strider, who's Marquise.
Mm-hmm.
He, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated role players. He's so fun to watch. I'm not even a big fan of watching games that other people are playing because I just want to play in games. But dude, that was awesome seeing all of those guys. And Chris Johnson, awesome job. But yeah, Marquise killed it.
Yeah, and actually, Marquise is going to be running a session for me and a bunch of other people set in Aeronoth that is going to answer Durgan's question, which was, where are the other Convokers?
Awesome.
We're going to play Convokers in Marquise's game. We're going to play a squad of Convokers that have been sent to deal with the Corruptor, and it's going to be badass. So,
That's great.
I'm really excited.
Cool.
All right, Tim.
So I am another quarter of Absolute Tabletop. I'm half of Tabletop Terrors. And you head over to Tabletop Gaming with Juice. No, I'm just kidding. That was for you, buddy. Pouring my 40 out in the dirt. But the real thing I was going to say is actually I do want to plug something totally different. I've had a few people lately that have said that they wish they could play in a game like this or like Cerceline. And here's how to make that a reality. The next question I usually ask those people is, do you play in a home game only, or do you play online? And the response to the 3 people in the last month who have asked me this has been the same, and it's been, I only play with my home group. And I can promise you that I could not play like this with my home group, as much as I love them. And so I'm not encouraging you to ditch your home group, but what I am encouraging you to do is to play in some online games and find some people. Find your provokers. I got lucky, and on the first shot, I found the group that I want to game with for the rest of my gaming life. But it's about hopping in, finding a one-shot, go to the Tabletop RPG one-shot group, and just jump in. It's the only way. The reason why I'm plugging this is because if I didn't do that, I would still be playing Beer and Pretzel D&D. Durgan wouldn't have existed. None of this would even exist, and Absolute Tabletop probably wouldn't even exist.
Yep.
So I'm encouraging you, find your group by playing in online games if you haven't made that leap. So that's my little 2 cents there.
And you wouldn't have been able to rub Nate's head in July, like we all got to.
Oh my god!
Exactly.
I still feel it. I can still, if I think enough, if I focus enough, I can still feel his head.
And Barker kissed it.
I did.
He did.
I can still feel it on my
It was
lips.
wet. It was gross.
No, it wasn't gross.
'Cause
It was beautiful.
It was super hot in July in Washington, and so as soon as we put our hands on Nate's head, he started just sweating profusely out of the top of his head.
It's a defense
It was
mechanism.
amazing. It
not
was like
even
an
true.
instant. It was like an instant reaction.
That was love. That was not sweat.
That was love coming out of the top of my bald head.
Well, it looked like beads in the shape of a handprint instantly.
Oh, but anyway, again, thank you everyone for stopping by and checking out the Provokers. We will be playing again very soon. I've had a lot of people say, how do I know when the Provokers are playing? Go check out the Facebook page, the Fistful of Dice Facebook page. I always talk about, like, just months in advance, I always plug the crap out of the Provokers game. And I always create an event there, too, so you can join the event, and then you'll actually get a reminder, like, hey, don't forget about the Provokers today. That helps me remember when the Provokers are. So,
Me too.
yeah, but anyway, thank you again, guys. Again, I am Matt. I run the channel Fistful of Dice. And as always, may your pizzas be hot and juicy.
And dinosaur lasagna.